Hello. Hi. Good morning. Good morning. I'm actually on time, which is amazing because I'm never on time lately. Very often, I'm just late. Well, very often lately, I just woke up late. I'm very proud of myself for waking up early today. Just so you know. How are you guys? Nobody is here, I know, but I have to interact somehow. Pretend that there are somebody here. Good morning, Bear. Morning. I had a good night's sleep. How did you all spend your 1st of January? I hope you all spent your 1st of January way better than I did. I mean, it was pretty ideal for myself, to be honest. I thoroughly enjoyed my 1st of January. It was very peaceful and quiet and nice. That's all I need. That's all I need. Peace, quiet. Peace and quiet. We are reading a new book today. It's called Botchan by Natsume Sōseki, my favorite author in the world. Got my outfit and everything ready as well. My little bunny with me to celebrate the new year, the year of the rabbit. Oh my goodness. Yawning. Always yawning. Okay. Without further ado, I guess we should start watching. I'm sorry, not watching. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Start reading the book, sorry. So that won't waste anyone's time. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today we are reading Natsume Sōseki, Botchan. If you guys have any difficulty in listening or hearing me read, please let me know so that I can adjust my microphone or adjust the volume in my OBS, okay? So, before chapter 1, okay. Botchan by Natsume Sōseki. I decided to read a little bit of the publisher's foreword so that you understand how big Natsume Sōseki is as a writer. I mean, not big as in size, but big as in influence. Publisher's foreword. In his foreword, wait, hang on. I forgot. Okay. Alright. Sorry for the disruption. For the stop. Okay. Publisher's foreword. In his foreword, written in 1922, translator Umeji Sasaki commented on the changes even then overtaking Japan. Now, years later, the old Japan has given way to the new. Recent decades have witnessed vast changes in customs and attitudes. Although it was written in 1904, Botchan is an enduring novel because the young man who dominates the story typifies the fascinating combination of old realism with modern independence. Today, we would call Botchan a loner. In his time, he would have been described as an individualist. Whatever the destination, his qualities as a person have won him a lasting place in the 20th century literature. One cannot help but admire his tenacity, his perversity, and above all, his optimism. In reissuing this modern classic in an English edition, we are pleased to provide to a new generation of readers the opportunity to read this timeless work by Sōseki Natsume. I know who you are. Terrorist Petra! Hey, missing you. Thank you so much again for coming over. We are just about to start the first chapter of the book. You are on time. One moment. Sip of coffee. Alright. Also, lip balm. Very important to have lip balm on before you start reading because your lips will get really dry. Feel free to remind me to hydrate and stretch throughout the reading. Thank you so much. I would appreciate it. Alrighty, let's do it. Forward. A book may be amusing with numerous errors, or it may be very dull without a single absurdity. Of all the novels written by Sōseki, Botchan is the most popular among young people. The hero in this story unites in himself contradictory traits of character. He is rash, driving, and hasty. He is like a locomotive puffing and pulling, yet he is honest, simple, and frank. He never says or does what he does not mean. He never flatters. He is yes or no. There is no halfway in him. Young folks cannot read the book without loving him. Old Japan, with her polite yet often deceptive ways, is passing to return no more, and the new Japan, with her honest, simple, and frank democratic ways, must come to speak and act in world terms. Botchan, the hero of the book, is in many respects a young man embodying the new ideals of New Japan. Sōseki was prophetic in delineating such a character in the book. As for Principal Badger, Red Shirt, Noda, the Clown, Madonna, Green Squash, Porcupine, et al., let them speak for themselves. Personal fidelity, a relic of old Japan, is significantly held up by the author in The Old Woman Kiyo, the hero's nurse. Her letter, 4 feet long, addressed to her young master, is one of the finest letters I have ever read. Hiyatari ya jukushi go gotoki omoi ari. I was basking in the sun. I felt like a ripe persimmon. Sōseki. Sōseki was a true poet, and he was happy and contented as he could enjoy the sunshine. He could do without fame or gold, but sun rays were his mana. By bathing in the sun, he felt as if he were a ripe persimmon. Wonderful imagination. He would have asked for the same favor of an Alexander as Diogenes or the great Greek philosopher. Sire, won't you please get away a little from the sun? I have asked nothing more of you. Lolling luxuriously in the sun, giving full liberty to his limbs, he often blinked lazily up at the sun. He was ready to burst out like a ripe persimmon. Even the greedy crow would not venture near, lest it should burst like a mine. Being a poet, he is often suggestive, and this suggestiveness so often flashes out like lightning in Botchan. And the translator has done his very best in retaining it in the translation. The rattan sofa on his veranda of his study is shown to the visitor at the home of Japan's literary star in Minamicho, Waseda. I was charmed to see the sofa on which the novelist used to take sun bath, the little ebony desk with an inkstand, a pen, and paper is patiently waiting for its owner to come and sit there as if it knew not of his departure from this earth. Sincere thanks are due to Mrs. Natsume, who so generously allowed me to translate Botchan, and I feel very grateful to Professor E.W. Clement of the First National College, who has so kindly looked over my translation. Umeji Sasaki, January 4th, 1922. And that is the forwards by the translator, Umeji Sasaki, back in January 4th, 1922. I think a few years after Natsume Sōseki passed away. Okay, let us start. Drink coffee. Oh my god, my book! Chapter 1 of Botchan by Natsume Sōseki. A great loser have I been ever since a child, having a rash, daring spirit, a spirit I inherited from my ancestors. When a primary school boy, I jumped down from the second story of the schoolhouse and had to lie abed about a week. Some may be curious enough as to ask me why did I do such a rash thing. I had no special reason. I had one day been looking down from the window of the second story of the new school when one of my classmates looked up and said in a taunt, "You are a great boaster, but you cannot jump down from the height, you poor little creeping thing." My father, seeing me come home on the back of the janitor, said in an angry tone that no strong boy could be hurt by jumping down from such a low height as from the upstairs. And I assured him that he would be proud to see me come out all right next time. A foreign-made penknife had been given me by one of my relations, and I was showing it proudly to my comrades, the bright blade reflecting the sunlight, when one of the boys said that it was sharp and I could cut anything with it. "Well," said he, "try it on your finger." "Look here," said I, and I tried it on the thumb of my right hand. It bled so much, but fortunately the knife was small and bone solid, and the bone was solid. The finger had retained its original position to this day, although I shall carry the scar to my grave. 20 steps east in the yard of my house, there was a small garden sloping up southward, where stood a chestnut tree. This was the tree prized by me even more than the life itself. As its fruiting time, the tree found me an early riser who would come out into the backyard in nightgown and gather the brown nuts on the ground. This I would take to the school to eat. Kantaro, a 13-year-old boy, was the son of Yamashiroya, a pawnbroker, whose yard was next to ours on the west. He was a feeble boy, yet he would come and steal the fruit, climbing all over the bamboo fence which formed the boundary between the two premises. One afternoon, toward dusk, hiding myself behind the folding wicket, I caught the thief at last. Losing the way back, Kantaro came plunging toward me with the strength and courage of a desperate mouse fleeing a cat. He was 2 years older and stronger than I, though a weak-hearted, spiritless boy. Placing his flat-crowned head against my chest, he pushed me with all his might, but his head slipped and came into the sleeve of my lined garment. Finding it very inconvenient in using my arm, I tried very hard to shake it off, the head moving left and right like a pendulum each time. Out of agony, he at last beat me on the arm in the sleeve. Great pain gave me great strength, and I hurled him down against the fence by coiling my leg around his. Fully 6 feet below our garden were the premises of Yamashiroya. Kantaro, breaking half of the fence, fell head over heels down to his own domain, a suppressed scream escaping from his half-cocked throat. The sleeve of my garment went with him when he fell over, and I found myself arm free. That evening, my mother went to the pawnbrokers to apologize and beg back the lost sleeve. Besides this, I did many other naughty things. Once I took Kaneko, a carpenter's apprentice boy, and Kaku, a fishmonger's boy, to the carrot patch belonging to a certain Mosaku. Rice straw was being scattered over the spots where the carrot sprouts had not come out evenly. We found the place a ready-made ring, and spent half of the day in wrestling, thus ruining the whole field. Again, I had the disgrace of being exposed to shame by clogging the well spout of the rice field owned by a certain person named Furukawa. A long bamboo flute, the joint of which were well bored, had been buried perpendicularly deep into the ground. Water came out from the spout and flowed into the rice field. Not knowing at the time it was such a contrivance of great moment, I filled it up with pebbles and sticks of all sizes and shapes by putting one after another into the spout. Satisfied to see no water ooze out, I returned home and was having supper when Furukawa, in great rage, came roaring into the house. A certain sum of money was paid as a fine to pacify the angry man. I was not a bit loved by father. Mother's favorite was my elder brother. This brother had a complexion unpleasantly white, verging almost on paleness. He was very fond of theatrical performances and would play the part of a female. Every time my father saw me, he would say, "This fellow is the black sheep of the family." My mother would be very anxious about my future, saying that I would never be good enough, being so very unruly. Their prophecy was right to a certain extent. I am neither great nor good, as you see. It was quite right that both my parents were very much worried about my future career, and the only consolation is that I have not yet been put into prison for hard labor. 2 or 3 days before my mother died of an illness, I was turning somersaults in the kitchen and had my ribs hurt by striking them against the corner of the oven, which gave me great pain. My mother, getting very angry, said that she did not wish to see me anymore, and I was sent to my relations to stay until I received further notice from home. The notice came to me in an entirely unexpected form. It was the news of my mother's death. I had not expected the event would happen so soon. I returned home, wishing I had been a better boy while she was so seriously ill. My elder brother, finding me home again, said that I was an ungrateful son, and that mother had died so soon because of me. Too much to bear, I gave him a good slap on the cheek, for which I got a hard scolding afterward. After mother's death, we 3 lived together, father, brother, and I. Father would do nothing, and whenever he saw me, he would tell me that I was a good-for-nothing fellow. I have, however, been unable to see the reason why I was such a useless boy. I can tell you, he was a strange father. Brother was studying English very hard, expecting to be a businessman. He was a character both effeminate and deceitful, and we were never friends. We fell out about once every 3 days. One time, we played a game of chess. He cowardly set a chessman in ambush and used many insulting words as if he were glad to see me greatly embarrassed. Finding it too hard to bear, I hurled the hisha, a chessman of great importance, I held in my hand to his forehead. A few drops of blood came up of the wound it made. He went and told father, who said that he would turn me out of the house right away. Thinking it could not be helped this time, I had been expecting to be disinherited any moment, when a woman servant named Kiyo, who had served in our family for the past 10 years, came to my rescue. and pleaded in tears so earnestly for me to the angry father that I was spared the disgrace of being turned out of the family. However, I was not afraid of father. I was rather sorry for the sake of Kiyo, the servant. This old woman, I was told, came from a decent family whose fortune had been ruined at the time of the Restoration, thus came to serve in our family. I do not know what affinity there was in our previous states of existence, yet she was so fond of me that I thought it was strange. 3 days before mother died, I was already a hopeless case to her. Father thought me unruly and beyond his control all the year round. The people of the ward I lived in turned their faces away from me as a branded bad boy. Still, I was Kiyo's great favorite. Believing I was born to be hated, I did not take it amiss to be ill-treated like a chip of wood, and rather thought it was strange to be much loved by Kiyo. When the coast was clear, she would often praise me, saying, "You have a fine character, straight as an arrow." I could, however, hardly understand what she had meant. Had I had the fine character she said I had, other people should also have treated me a little more kindly. Each time Kiyo said such nice things to me, I would tell her that I hated those sweet words. Upon this, the old woman would look into my face admiringly and was happy to say that very thing more than anything else was ample proof of my having a nice character. It seemed as if she had created me by her own power and were proud of her handiwork. I felt rather suspicious. After mother's death, I was loved by Kiyo more than ever. It seemed strange, even to my young mind, that she was so fond of me. I thought I was too worthless to be caressed, and she had better stop it. I felt sorry for her. Still, I was dear to her. Often, she would buy me donuts and crackers with her scanty pocket money. On cold nights, she would make porridge from the bucket wheat flour she had secretly laid in and bring it into my bedside unnoticed. Even a pot of hot macaroni often found its way to my room. Not only these treats, but also stockings, pencils, and notebooks were bought for me by Kiyo. Much later than the time I am describing, he brought me 3 yen. I had not asked for it. She had came into my room herself and said I might be short of pocket money and the sum was at my service. Of course, I told her that I did not need it, but as she insisted upon my accepting it, I accepted it from her. To tell the truth, I was very glad to have it. I put the money into my purse and went to wash my hands, carelessly thrusting the purse into my breastful of my pocket and dropped it down the toilet. Not knowing what to do, I came out of the bathroom very much embarrassed and told Kiyo what had happened to the purse. She said that she would get it for me with a bamboo stick. In a little while, I heard somebody washing the well side. I went out and saw Kiyo cleansing the purse by fixing its string to the end of a stick. Then, taking the bills out of the purse, we found them all turned yellow, the patterns being a little defaced. Drying them over the brazier, she gave them to me, saying that they would do. I told them that they had a bad smell. Then, she said, "Give them to me and I'll have them changed." I do not know what trick she played, but in a short time, she brought back 3 yen in silver. I do not remember what I did with that money. I told her that I would pay it back soon, but the promise had not yet been fulfilled. Now, I wish I could return a sum of 10 times as much as the original, but it remains just a wish. Kiyo gave me things only when neither father nor brother was at home. Nothing do I dislike more than to get profit myself when others sit empty-handed. Brother and I were not friends. Still, I did not like to get cakes and colored pencils from her without his knowledge. Sometimes I ask her why was she so partial to me. She would very composedly say that my father brought things for my brother, so she had nothing to do with him. This was not fair on the part of Kiyo. Old-fashioned and obstinate as he was, father would never do anything partial or show anyone favoritism. However, he seems to be partial to the prejudiced eye of this old woman whose excessive love to me was anything but fair. And it could not be helped, considering she was an uneducated woman. Although she came from a family of some social standing, this was not all. She was firmly convinced that I would get finely in the world and would be a great man in the future. This idea came, of course, from her injudicious liking for me. On the other hand, she said that my brother had a very white complexion, yet a poor future, however hard he might work. She believed that there lay a great future before one whom she liked, while ruin awaited those whom she hated. I had never thought what I would be, yet as Kiyo said, I would be great. I thought I should be somebody in the world. Exceedingly foolish it seemed to me now. Once I asked her what I should be, but she had no special idea at that point, simply said that I would certainly live in a stately mansion with a beautiful porch and drive out in fine carriage. Kiyo had been expecting to live with me when I could have a home of my own. She has asked me again and again if I would let her stay with me. I told her not to worry about that, for she would surely have a home in my new establishment, for which I was sure I could set up. Imagination is a happy enchantress. She will put up a fine castle in the air. Kiyo had a brilliant one. She was so very fanciful to ask me what part of the city I would like to make my new home. Was it Kojimachi or Asabu? She told me to have a swing in the yard and that only one room in a foreign style was enough. She was pleased to arrange things according to her own taste. At that time, I had no desire of having a home, and neither a foreign nor a Japanese house was an attraction to me. Each time I told it to her, she would commend me, saying that I was quite unselfish and my mind was just as pure as a crystal. My Kiyo was as full of praises as a nurse is full of pins. I lived thus for some 5 or 6 years after mother died. I got scoldings from father, I often had quarrels with my brother, and got kicks from Kiyo with her usual praise. Having no special ambition, I thought this mode of life suited me just as well. I believed that the other boys had the same experiences as I. But as Kiyo told me so often, I was an unfortunate boy. I thought I must really be a poor unhappy lad. Yet, I had no other trouble to surmount. The only one I thought the hardest was that father would give me no pocket money. Mother had been dead for 6 years when father died of apoplexy in the first month of the year. In April, I graduated from a certain private middle school, and in July, brother from a commercial college. He was offered a position at the Kyushu branch of a certain business concern in Tokyo and had to go to the south. I had to stay and study more in the capital. Brother said that he would sell the house with all the movable belongings to him and go to Kyushu. I told him to do whatever he thought best. I wished to be entirely independent of him. If he rendered me some assistance, he would surely withdraw it soon, as I should certainly pick a quarrel with him before very long. My head, I thought, was too precious to bow before such a brother by receiving some trivial help. I thought I could support myself even by being a milkman. In a few days, my brother called in some second-hand furniture dealer and disposed of, for almost nothing, all the old and worn-out articles handed down from our ancestors. The house with the grounds was sold to a certain wealthy family through the offices of a certain person. By this, my brother seemed to have got quite a handsome sum of money, but of course, I did not know the details. I had moved a month before and had been living in a boarding house at Ogawa Machikanda until my future career should be settled. Kyo was very sorry to find that the house she had lived in so many years was to be delivered up to the hands of another person, but she could do nothing as it was not her own. If you were a little older, you could be the heir to the estate, she had said repeatedly to me. Could I have been the heir by unable to be one now? Sorry. Could I be an heir by being a little brother? There could be no reasons. Could I be an heir by being a little older? There could be no reason why I should be unable to be one right now. The poor woman believed out of her ignorance that greater age could secure one of the estate of one's elder brother. Thus we parted, brother and I. But I did not know what to do with Kyo. Where could she go? Brother was not in a position to take her to Kyushu, and she would have rejected the idea of being taken so far away, following his heels. Nor was I able to take care of her then. I was an occupant of a 4.5 bedroom in a poor boarding house, and I would have to evacuate even that whenever necessity demanded. Being at my wit's end, I asked her if she was going to find a new master to serve. She gave me a final answer by saying that she would be obliged to go and stay with her nephew until I got married and set up a new home. Her nephew was a clerk in a certain law court and was free from leading a hand-to-mouth life. Kyo had been told 2 or 3 times that she could come and stay with him if she would. The invitation had been declined each time on the ground that she preferred the family whom she had so long served and felt quite at home. However, circumstances now seemed to compel her to go to her nephew's, as she thought it would be unwise and imprudent for her to serve in a new family, where she would surely have a hard experience. She would have hard experiences again. Still, she told me to get married soon and have a new home where she could come and be a housekeeper. To this faithful woman, whom I had no blood relation, was much dearer than her own kin. 2 days before she set out for Kyushu, brother came where I boarded and gave me 600 yen, telling me I could either invest that money in some commercial enterprise or my education. He added that I could spend it any way I pleased, but he would never be responsible for any further assistance. Brother looked taller and nobler than me. Then, I thought I did not care for such a modest sum of money, yet his unusual simple and frank manner pleased me so much that I accepted it with thanks. He also gave me 50 yen to be given to Kyo when I saw her, and I received that gladly. 2 days later, I saw him off at Shimbashi station and have never seen him since. My room was the place where I considered how to spend the 600 yen. Business was not to my taste, and I should certainly fail. Moreover, 600 yen was too small a sum of money to run a prosperous business. Even if I could have a prosperous business, I would be the loser in the long run, as I might be unable to tell people that I had received a liberal education as my schooling ended with that of a middle school. I said to myself that I did not care a bit for mercantile success. I would rather study with the money at my disposal. Dividing it into 3 parts, I could use 200 yen a year and attend school for 3 years. I could be something if I work hard for so long. Then I thought which school was best for me. I knew that I was not born to be a scholar. Especially I had a strong aversion to foreign languages and literature. Even a couple of verses in 20-line poem of the so-called new school was entirely jargon to me. Any branch of study I thought would do for me had a natural dislike to all kinds of learnings. Happening to pass by the gates of Butsuri Gakko, a special school for the study of physics and mathematics, I noticed an advertisement inviting new students to come. I went in and got a copy of the school directory and lost no time in going through the details of entrance, believing that I had been led there by some invisible hand. Now, it seems to me that this was another mistake caused by that hereditary thoughtlessness. I worked pretty hard for 3 years, but having no special gift for study, I always found myself at the end of the class. Time is, however, a mysterious worker, and 3 years' time made me possessor of a diploma at last. I thought it was strange, but finding no particular complaint to make, I made up my mind to keep the certificate like a good boy. 8 days after my graduation, the principal of the college sent for me. I was asked if I would go as a teacher of mathematics with a salary of 40 yen a month to a certain middle school in Shikoku. It is true that I had spent 3 long years in learning, yet had no intention of being a teacher or going into the country. However, indecision is what I dislike most, and I answered on the spot that I would accept the offer. This, of course, came partly from the lack of positions in view, except that of a teacher, but the hereditary rashness was again at the bottom of the mistake. Going was what I should do now that I had promised to go. The 4.5 mat room during those 3 years was my castle, where I had neither scolding nor quarrel. It was the time of my life, and I felt comparatively at ease, and now I had to part with the dear old nest which had given me shelter and protection for so long. I had never left Tokyo since I was born, save the time of my visit to Kamakura with my classmates. Compared the place I had to go now, Kamakura was simply next door. The map showed me the place. It was so small a place as to appear just like the point of a needle. It must certainly be a poor, miserable place. What the town was like, or what sort of people lived in it, was entirely unknown to me, yet it gave me neither trouble or anxiety. The only thing I had to do now was simply to go, and it was a little bit troublesome. That was all. Welcome, Mika. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I often visited Kiyo. I often visited Kiyo after we had closed our house. Her nephew was comparatively good man. He used to entertain me in more ways than one each time I called when he was at home. Kiyo was happy to have me come and would tell him many fine things about me. Once he declared that I would purchase a fine residence somewhere in Kojimachi and attend my office in a fine carriage. Being her own judge, she would talk on and on. Oh. Thank you so much for the follow, Mika. Thank you so much. Being her own judge, she would talk on and on without consulting me, and thus I blushed often, being very much embarrassed. I bore this once or twice like a saint, but found it very hard to bear when she began to spin a yarn about how I urinated in my sleep when I was a child. I do not know how her nephew felt about her proud talk about me, but Kiyo, being a woman of the old school, thought that her relations to me was that of a vassal to his lord of feudal times, and it was not at all strange logic for her to conclude that her nephew came under the same code. Poor nephew. The terms had been all settled, and I was set out for my new school in 3 days when I called on Kiyo. She had a cold and was lying in bed in the 3-mat room facing north. No sooner had she turned out of her bed on seeing me than she asked me if I was going to have a home pretty soon, still calling me by the fond name of Botchan, boy master. She seemed to believe that money would naturally come to one's pocket so soon as one got a diploma. For all the great things she had said of me, She still called me by that name. Her excessive love for me seemed to have made her blind to my fault. I simply said to her that I should have no home for the time being, and that I was going into a country in a day or two. She seemed greatly disappointed at hearing this, and began to stroke the grey hair on her temple as if in great perplexity. I felt very sorry and tried to revive her spirits a little by saying to her, Kiyo, I have to go now, but shall be back soon. You may be quite sure to have me again next summer vacation. These consoling words had very little effect upon her, who appeared just as much as disappointed as before. What shall I buy you for a souvenir? What do you want? Upon this, she said that she would like to have a sasame of echigo. I had never heard of such cake as that before. Moreover, the place where I was to go in as different as direction from Echigo as the North Pole from South Pole. I'm afraid there seems to be no such thing as sasame in the country place where I am to go, I said to her. In what direction is it situated then? She asked me again. The west. That was my simple answer. Is it that or this side of Hakone? Was her next question. The questions and answers of like that just mentioned put me all but out of patience. Kiyo came very early on the morning of my departure and did everything she could to help me start properly. She put in my carpet bag, some tooth powder, a toothbrush, and a towel which she had bought from a milliner on the way. I told her that I did not need them, but she would give no ear to what I had to say. We went down to the station in rickshaws. We came out together onto the platform. I got into the carriage and was looking out at the window waiting for the signal, when Kiyo looked up at my face and said in an almost inaudible voice, This may be the last. Fare you well, my young master. Her eyes were filled with tears. I did not cry, I did not cry, though tears would come out in spite of me. The locomotive began to move with its usual puff. Thinking it quite safe now, I looked out of the window, turned to the spot where she had been standing. There she stood, looking after me with a longing eye. She appeared so very small. That's the end of chapter 1. Thank you, Mika, for being here. This is your first time here. If you don't know what this is Noodible, a play on word on Audible with my name, Nuna. I read book on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Unless I have something to do on those days, then I would skip those days. I'm gonna drink my tea and give me about 1 minute to stretch, and then I'll continue chapter 2. Hello? Oh no. I'm muted? Shit. How much did I miss? I didn't even realize it. Oh no. Oh no. I have to reread the whole thing. How long was it? I'm an idiot. Holy shit. I think it's the entire chapter 2, isn't it? I think it's the entire chapter 2. Yeah, because Petra, if you'll be so kind, please, yeah, because I put down my UI whenever I read, so I am so sorry. Oh my god. Thank you. Oh my god. I think I have to read the entire chapter 2. I must have pressed something. I don't know. Did y'all, terrorists, did you hear anything from chapter 2 at all? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Ah. Thank you for the cheer. I guess I'll also start reading chapter 2 again because I'm an idiot who fucking so stupid. I'm so stupid. Because yeah. Oh my god. Okay, chapter 2. God. Did I really skip the entire... Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I don't know how to check. Okay. Chapter 2. No sooner had the steamer stopped with its usual boo from its whistle than a boat from the shore came approaching the vessel to receive passengers. The boatman had only a yard of red cloth around his loins. He was as naked as the savages down in the South Sea Islands. Nobody, however, could wear such clothes on such a warm day. The sun was pouring down its hot rays upon the water, so unpleasantly bright as to make one giddy. I asked the purser if I was to get off here, and I was told that I was. It was a small fishing village, just like the Omori. A fool I surely was to have been sent so far down to such a miserable place where no human being could comfortably stay even a day. This was the prevailing thought then. Still, I could not help it. I quickly jumped into the boat before anybody got in. Several followed me. Taking on some half a dozen boxes of passengers, the boatman with the red loincloth headed the vessel out into the sea. On landing, I was the first to get out. Getting hold of a dirty-nosed urchin standing on the beach, I asked him where the middle school stood. The boy, being taken aback by the abrupt manner of my question, timidly replied, I do not know. What a poor dull rustic, not to know where the middle school was in a town so small as the forehead of a cat. Then came a strange-looking man with tight sleeves, who told me to follow him. Minatoya, or hotel of some such name, was where I was taken by the man. Such a volley of welcomes came from the lips of those disagreeable women in the hotel that I dared not enter it. I remained standing by the gate. 2 li from here by train, sir, on my asking where the middle school stood, made me still more inclined not to come in. Taking my 2 carpet bags by force from the man with the tight sleeve, I deliberately began to walk away to the station. The landlady and her maids were dumbfounded by this act of mine. The station was soon reached. The ticket was also bought easily. The carriage I got in was so small that it looked just like a matchbox. The train went rolling about for about 5 minutes or so, and then I had to get off. I had thought it rather strange that the fare was so small, only 3 cents. Now it became all clear to me. A short ride in a rickshaw brought me to the middle school, where I found nobody in, as if it had been broken up. The janitor told me that the teacher on night watch was out for a few minutes on some private errand. What an example of loose discipline, I thought. Then I thought I might call upon the principal, but being completely tired out, I got in the rickshaw again and told the puller to take me to any hotel he thought best. The man gladly took me to a hotel named Yamashiroya, which I thought a bit interesting. It bore the same name as that of the pawnbroker, Kantaro's father's. An uninviting dark room just below the staircase was where I was shown into. It was so close and hot a room, like an oven, that I told them to let me have some other room. They said that it was the only room then available, every other room being unfortunately occupied. Thus I was left alone with my bags to perspire in the hot room. Patience was what I had to learn there. Being told to take a bath, I went and jumped in with a good deal of splash, and then came out of the tub in a twinkling. I noticed on my way back that many a cool, cozy room was left unoccupied. Impudent rascals! They had basely deceived me. Supper was brought in by a maid. The room was hot and uncomfortable, yet the meal was far nicer than that of the boarding house in Tokyo. The maid who waited on me was garrulous and asked me where I came from. From Tokyo, I answered to the question. Tokyo is a fine place, is it not? There's no doubt about it, was the answer I gave. A great roar of laughter was heard away in the kitchen when the maid carrying away the table things reached there. Thinking the bed was the only place to while away such a dull time, I immediately went to bed and tried to sleep. But sleep I could not. It was not only hot and sultry, but also so clamorous that I thought it was 5 times as noisy as in the boarding house. I was dozing over my pillow when Kiyo, the servant, appeared before me. She was nibbling away at the bamboo leaf with Ame. I told her that the leaf was no good for her stomach and she had better stop, but she kept on eating as if it were a delicacy, saying that it was a very good panacea. I was completely taken aback and began to laugh. Aha, ha! From my outstretched lips awoke me from the state of drowsiness. It was a dream. The maid was taking down the shutters. The sun had risen considerably high and the sky was as clear as could be. I had been told that you should give a tip when out traveling, that you would never be welcome without a money present on your putting up at the hotel. That I was put into a small dark room could only be accounted for by the fact that I had not given them any tip. That I had on shabby clothes and was carrying old carpet bags and cheap umbrella. They have assumingly looked down upon me, those detestable rustics. They shall know how they should behave towards their guests. They shall have a great surprise by being given an enormous tip. Poor I may look. I brought with me on leaving Tokyo the balance left after paying for my school expenses and the handsome sum of 30 yen. Hello, nice to meet you. Please have a seat. Okay. After having paid for train, steamer, and all other miscellaneous expenses on the way, I still have 14 yen left over, said I to myself. I don't mind if I give away all I have, for I shall get a salary from now on. A gift of 5 yen would certainly dazzle these miserly rustics. A few moments and a miracle will be wrought. I kept myself cool and quiet. I had washed my face and been waiting in my room a few moments when the same maid, brought in my breakfast. Her unpleasant smile at me while serving me made me so irritated that I all but flung the rice bowl at the impertinent domestic. Don't stare at me in the face. There's no parade there. Mine is far superior than yours, I said to myself. I planned to give it after I had finished my meal, but too greatly displeased to wait any longer, I took out a 5 yen bill and told her to take it to the landlord behind the counter. The maid made a very strange face at this act. I went to school after I breakfasted. The shoes had not been polished. The school was soon reached after I had turned 2 or 3 corners, as my rickshaw ride on the previous day had made me pretty familiar with the whereabouts of the schoolhouse. Now, I found myself just in front of the school gate, where a pavement of granite began until I reached porch. The unusually big sound of my rickshaw made on the pavement yesterday, I remember, bothered me not a little. I met on my way many students in thick cotton cloth uniform, who all passed into the gate. Some of them were much taller and looked much stronger than I. I felt somewhat uneasy, and I thought I had to teach those rustic lads. Sending in my cards, I was shown into the room of the principal, who looks just like a badger, with a thin moustache, a dark complexion, and big eyes. His haughty manner was anything but pleasing. An official writ with a large stamp was ceremoniously handed to me, with the words, "Please be faithful and diligent in your duty." From the dignified... Sorry. Oh, she's gone? Okay. From the dignified head of the school. This very wreath was by the by rolled up and thrown overboard on my way back to Tokyo. Then the principal told me that I should be introduced to the teachers immediately, that I should show the document to each of them. This was decidedly an example of red tapeism. It would have been far better to paste it up on the wall of the teacher's room for 3 days than to make one go through such a troublesome process. There was much time to wait before the teachers all assembled in the teacher's room at the trumpet call at the end of the first period. Then the principal, looking at his watch, said that he would tell me all the principal points I should bear in mind, though the details would be greatly unfolded. He then dwelt upon the spirit and importance of true education, giving full scope to this pedagogical knowledge. I had, of course, been paying lukewarm attention to what he was saying, and while listening I began to wish that I had not come to such a place. It was impossible for me to do just as the principal wished me to do. Taking hold of one so quick-tempered as a bullet, he said, "Be an example to the boys. Try to be looked up as to a living virtue of the school. The true educator is he who, besides his learning, will impart his personal influence over his pupils," etc., etc. These were exorbitant expectations from one like myself. 40 yen a month would have been too small an allurement for one so great as the principal mentioned to come so far down to such a wretched country place. I thought that human nature is the same all over the world, so that everybody would fall out once or twice when angry. If such was the case, silence seemed here to be the only virtue to keep me safe. The principal should have told me all the details of duties I should perform. I could not tell him that I would do all that he had told me, for it would have been a sheer lie. I had been deceived and come here. Fate was at the bottom of the affair, and the only thing that remained for me now was to act like a man and go back to Tokyo, resigning on the spot. I had given the landlord 5 yen, and the balance in my purse was the only 9 yen and some old coins. 9 yen would not be sufficient to take me back to Tokyo. Would that I had not given that tip. Though the money was not enough, yet I might be able to manage it somehow. Thinking that the lack of traveling expenses would be far better than to be dishonest, I frankly told him, "Mr. Principal, I can hardly do as you wish me to do. Please take this official writ." At this, the astonished principal stared at me in the face with his badger-like eyes for some moments and then told me that those were simply wishes, fulfillment of which would be hard for anybody, and that I need not worry about it. Thus saying, he laughed outright. Had he understood the ways of the world so well, why did he threaten me with impossibilities, I wonder? In the meantime, came the bugle call. All at once a buzzing sound like that of a beehive was heard toward the classrooms. Upon the intimation that the teachers had all assembled, I went into the teachers' room, the principal going before me. It was a large oblong room with desks around, at which teachers sat. Entering the room, they one all looked at me as if I were an animal on show. Then followed the ceremony of bowing and with appropriate words. I approached and showed the official writ to each of the teachers, most of whom, leaving their seats, simply curved their bodies a little in recognition. Politer ones, however, receiving the documents from me, gave it a careful glance, returned it to me with a profound bow. I thought it was just like a stage performance in a country theatre. I had repeated the same act 14 times. And when I came to the teacher of physical exercise for the 15th, I felt a little impatient. As to the teachers, they had to do it once, but to go through the same process 15 times, they should have been more considerate and sympathetic. Hello, nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. Dean so and so. Is that Dean? Okay. Dean so and so, Bungakushi, was among those whom I greeted. A Bungakushi, being a graduate of the Imperial University, must be, I thought, a great savant. He had the sweet, caressing voice a lady would be proud of being a possessor. One thing that gave me the greatest surprise, that he had on a flannel shirt on such a warm day. Though it was of a thinner kind of cloth, it must be quite warm. Elaborated toilet must be inseparable to a Bungakushi, I thought. And when you saw it was a red shirt, you could not but to be dumbfounded. I was told afterwards that he had on nothing but a red shirt all through the 12 months. A strange fancy. Was not his explanation funny? He said that red being good for health, so he always got red underwear made. Then why did he not get red trousers as well? A teacher of English named Koga was another figure whom we cannot pass by without some comment. He had on a very sickly complexion. A man of pale face is generally thin and lank, but he was exceptionally pale and stout. I remember when a schoolboy I had a classmate named Asai, whose father was a farmer, and he had complexion just like that of this professor of English. I asked Kyo once if a farmer always had such pale face, and she told me that that was not the case, but it was because he was eating nothing but green squash. Oh. Thank you so much. Hey! Oh my god, long time no see. Aww. Long time no see. Thank you for coming here. Happy New Year! Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you. Where was I? Green squash, yes. This teacher of English must have taken a good deal of green squash. Even now, I'm not a bit wiser about the squash affair. I asked Kyo to explain what it was, but she simply smiled and gave me no answer. I dare say that she did not know what it was herself. Hotta was the name of a teacher of mathematics. He had a round head cropped short, and it was just like a chestnut burr. He had such a bad physiognomy as that of a bad priest of Eizan, the site of a famous Buddhist temple on top of Mount Hiei, Kyoto. Giving not a single glance, even when the wreath was shown to him, he simply said, "You are the new teacher? Come see me." He closed his remark with, "Ha ha." What did he mean by this ha ha? Nobody would go and see such a savage. Porcupine was the nickname I gave to this chestnut burr, and thought it was very appropriate. The teacher of Chinese classics was very polite, as a man of the school should be. "You arrived yesterday? Must be very tired. Are you going to begin your work right away? What an example of diligence." He went on talking about waiting for my answer. He went on talking without waiting for my answer. An amiable old man, thought I. The teacher of drawing was a man of the stage professional type. He had on summer haori made of thin silk like tissue paper. Opening and shutting his fan, he asked me where I came from. "Eh? From Tokyo?" said he. "I'm so glad to hear it. You and I are both Edo men. If such a person was an Edo man," I thought, "nobody would like to have been born in Tokyo. Were I to write such things of them in detail, it would require a volume. I had best stop. The introduction being now over, the principal told me that I might go home and have a conference about my classwork with the chief instructor of mathematics afterwards, and then I should meet the classes the day after tomorrow. Our porcupine was found to be the principal teacher of mathematics. The revelation was anything but pleasant. I was not a little disappointed to know that I had to work under him. "Say, where do you stay? Yamashiroya? Well, I'll come and have a talk with you this afternoon." With these words, Porcupine left me and went away to his class with a chalk box. What a humble teacher he was! Who would come and see his inferior personally instead of summoning him? Still, it was a good act on part of Mr. Porcupine. Coming out of the school, I should have gone back to my hotel, but knowing there was no special attraction there, I thought I would take a look at the town and walk on along the streets just as chance took me. I saw the building of the prefectural government. It was an old edifice of the last century. I saw the barracks. They were not as nice as those of Azabu Regiment. I passed the main street, and it was not half so wide as Kagurazaka, with much poorer shops. The castle town, 250,000 koku, was only great in name. The people who were proudly calling it by the high-sounding appellation of Castle Town were rather to be pitied than to be envied. While walking with some such thoughts, I found myself just in front of Yamashiroya, the hotel. I expected the town was much larger, but it was so small that there was nothing more to see. I had scarcely entered the gate when the hostess at the counter came out quickly and welcomed me with sweet words, bowing so very low that her head almost reached the floor. Taking off my shoes, I went in and was shown into a room by the maid. She said that it had just been evacuated. It was a 15-mat front room upstairs with a large fine tokonoma. I had never been in such a fine parlor before, and being very doubtful whether I should ever be able to live in such a splendid room again in my whole life. I took off my foreign clothes, put on yukata, and lay on my back in the midst of the room, giving full freedom to my liberated limbs. It was so very delightful. After the midday meal, I lost no time in writing to my Kyo. Letter writing was what I disliked the most, for I am neither good at composition nor rich in vocabulary. Moreover, I have no special person to write to. However, Kyo would certainly be in great anxiety and might be thinking that I had drowned in a shipwreck. In order to make her believe that her fear and anxiety was entirely unfounded, I wrote her a very long letter. It was worded as follows. Dear Kyo, I got here yesterday. It is a poor place. I am lying down in a large room of 15 mats. I gave away 5 yen as a tip. The landlady made me the nicest bow you ever saw. Her head all but touched the floor. I had a disturbed sleep last night and had a dream in which you ate sasaame, bamboo leaf and all. Expect me next summer vacation. I have been to school today and many of the teachers have been given nicknames by me. Principal named Badger, Dean, Red Shirt, Teacher of English, Green Squash, Teacher of Mathematics, Porcupines, Teacher of Drawing, Clown. You shall know much more things by and by. Goodbye, Kyo. Yours, Botchan. I felt so light of heart and drowsy after I had finished the letter to Kyo that I laid myself down in the middle of the room with my limbs all outstretched. This time, no dream came to disturb my profound sleep. Is this the room you are in? Coming from somebody in a loud voice awoke me, and my sleep rested on no other person than Mr. Porcupine himself. No sooner had I sprung up than he, with an inserted clause of apology about his disrespectful behavior toward me at our last interview at school that morning, began to talk about books and the numbers of hours I had to teach. I told him I would attend to my duties, as I found them not so very hard. If such were the duties, I should never have been a bit surprised if I had been told to begin right away instead of waiting till the day after tomorrow. The consultation was of brief duration. Mr. Porcupine then said that he presumed I did not intend to stay in the hotel any longer, and would be glad to move quickly if he had found a good boarding place for me, and that no other person could persuade them to take in a boarder, but he could. That I should come and see the place myself the very next day, move in the next day, and attend school the day after. He seemed to settle everything according to his own convenience and satisfaction, not caring a pin for me. However, no sensible man would thought of staying in a 15-mat room much longer. All my salary would not be enough to pay for my hotel bill, although I did not think it is nice to move out so soon now, and I had just given them 5 yen as a tip. Yet if I move at all, it would be far better to do it right away and be settled once and for all. Thus thinking, I asked Mr. Porcupine to do it for me. I went with him as he told me to come and see. The house stood on the hillside of the outskirts of the town, and it was a very quiet place. The master of the house, named Ikagin, was a dealer in the curios, whose wife, an elderly woman, was 4 years older than the husband. I remember I learned, while attending the middle school, the word witch. The features of this woman were very much so like those of a witch, yet witch or not was no business of mine as long as she's another person's wife. Everything being now settled to the satisfaction of both parties, the curio dealer and his wife said that they would expect me the following day. On our way home, Mr. Porcupine treated me to a glass of ice water at the shop on the street. When I saw him at school, he seemed so disagreeably haughty and impolite, but seeing this kind of offices, he was so willing to offer me. I could not but be persuaded that he was good at heart. The similarity of character between him and me was so very striking. He was as hasty driving and quick-tempered as I. His popularity, however, was partly due to this weakness of character, if it be weakness at all. that was the end of chapter 2. Let's go on with chapter 3. Take a sip of my coffee. That was the last sip of coffee. Thank you so much for being here with me on this new year. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay. Chapter 3. At last, the day arrived on which I went to school. I felt very awkward then, entering the classroom. I got up on the platform for the very first time. I began to feel the doubt of teaching, whether I could ever be a good teacher. There was a stir and commotion among the boys. Now and then came a surprisingly loud voice calling out, "Master!" This address of master made me not a little uncomfortable. I used, it is true, to call out "Master, Master" every day when I was attending the physics college, but to be addressed "Master" was quite another matter and sent a tickling sensation all through my system, even so far down to the soles of my feet. I am neither coward nor dastard, yet sad to say, I lack coolness. Hearing "Master" in a loud voice made me feel as if I heard a midday gun in the palace grounds when hungry. The first hour I spent as best as I could. I was pestered with no specially hard questions to answer. Coming back to the faculty room, I was asked by Mr. Porcupine if it had been all right. The brief answer, "Oh yes," seems to have given him an ample satisfaction. Going with the chalk box to the classroom from the teacher's room at the second hour gave me a feeling as if I was riding into a hostile land. Entering the room, I found that it was composed of lads much bigger than those in the other room. Being an Edo man of small and delicate build, I could not make a commanding figure even on an elevated platform. I would not shrink from fighting a wrestler if opportunity demanded doing so, but I have neither skill nor art to intimidate with an exercise of the tongue of those big boys. 40 numbers. However, it would not do to show it by any means, and I began my lecture in a very loud voice, giving a slight twist to my tongue. At first, the boys did not know what to do. They were, so to speak, groping in a dense smoke, and this made me so much bolder and more triumphant that I went on, talking much faster, freely using slang expressions. All at once came "Master!" from the biggest and strongest boy, who stood up in the middle of the front row. "What is it?" I asked. I said to him in a tone as if I had long expected it. "Sir, you talk too fast to follow. Will you not, if you please, speak a little more slowly?" "Will you not, if you please, is a hateful, moderate expression. I'll oblige you by speaking more slowly if you really cannot follow me," said I. "But, being an Edo man through and through, I cannot speak your dreadful dialect, and you will have to wait patiently until you can understand me." Thus, the second period passed much more peacefully than had been expected. Cold perspiration, however, seemed to cover my whole system when one of the lads approached me with the hard problem of Euclid, saying, "Will you not solve this for me, if you please?" One glance showed me that this was beyond my power to explain it. Finding it no better way than to say frankly that I could hardly make out what it was, that he should learn it some other time, I beat a hasty retreat. A volley, shouts, mixed with "Phew! Poor teacher!" was sent after me. Rascals! A teacher is as human as they. Being human, it is no wonder if he does not know everything and says so honestly. Nobody would come so far down to such a country place with such a small salary of 40 yen if he were able to explain such a hard question. Saying this to myself, I came back to the faculty room. How has it been all this time? Said Mr. Porcupine. Well, I answered, but a simple interjection giving me no satisfaction. I told him that the students in the school were all fools. Mr. Porcupine made a face at this remark. The third, the fourth periods of the forenoon and the first period in the afternoon passed without much difference. My first day at school was, however, not a success, but a day of little failures. I thought the teacher's vocation was not as easy as outsiders think. Teaching was now over, yet I could not go home. I had to wait until 3, although I had nothing more to do. 3 o'clock, and I was to go and inspect the classrooms. Upon receiving word that they had been swept and cleaned by the boys under my personal charge. I was not yet free until I had done one more duty, that is, looking over the roll calls. Though a salary-drawn creature, yet I thought it was a cruel law that bound one to school, and made him stare at his desk even when he has no class to teach. But as other teachers were attending their duties like good boys, I patiently waited, thinking it would not do for a newcomer for me to fret. On our way home, however, I said to Mr. Porcupine that it was foolishness itself to compel one to stay in school till 3, willingly or unwillingly. This complaint drew from him his usual, "Well, yes," but soon it changed into a grave tone. "Do not speak so ill of the school. Be on your guard, lest some ill-disposed person should betray you. Speak to me only if you have to do it at all," said he in as much a form of warning as friendly advice. As we parted at the next corner, I had no time to enquire the details. Getting home, I was called on by the master of the house, where I boarded with the words, "Shall I make tea, sir?" I understand from the tone that he would entertain me with tea made from the leaves of his own can, but it was not the case. He took and made tea from my can, and freely helped himself to the beverage. I suspected from this that he had been helping himself to it as he pleases while I was away from home. The master said, "Being excessively fond of old painting and curios, I have at last come to privately engage in this business. You seem to have elegant tastes, and what would you say if I advised you to amuse yourself a little with curios just for recreation's sake?" This was to me entirely a bit unexpected solicitation. It is true that I had been taken for a lock mender when I went to the Imperial Hotel on an errand, and the rickshaw puller addressed me as the leader. With a blanket on, I visited the great Buddha at Kamakura. I have been up to this time mistaken for many other things, but never have I met with one who said I was a man of elegant taste. One's dress or appearance generally betrays what he is. A man of fine taste will have on a fancy hood, carrying in his hand a narrow slip of paper called tanjaku to write verses on, as he is seen represented in pictures. A man who could placidly say that I had refined taste, I thought, was no novice in imposture. On my telling him that I, not being an old man in easy retirement, disliked such things, he answered with a smile that nobody was born with such tastes, but once obtained, he could hardly get rid of it. So saying, he helped himself to the tea that he made himself, handling the cup in a curious way. I had indeed asked the host to buy me some tea last night, but with such bitter strong tea would not do. 1 cup of the beverage he made seemed to contract my stomach. "Please get me some weaker tea," I said to him. "Yes, if it pleases you, sir," was his insinuating answer, and he again helped himself to 1 more cupful of tea. Thinking it no tax upon his purse, the host took as many cups as he possibly could. After he had gone, I looked over the lessons for the following day and went to bed. I worked at the school day after day as regularly as sun rises, and coming home was pestered every day by my host with his usual, "I'll make tea for you, sir." A week passed and I was able to understand the general affairs of the school and the character of both my hosts and hostesses very pretty well. My colleague told me on my asking that 1 week to 1 month after you have got your written appointment, you are very anxious whether you have been well or ill received by the students. I had no such anxiety. It is true I felt rather bad when I blundered in classroom once and again, but it was a short duration, 30 minutes or so, and I was again a happy man. I am a man who could never be anxious long about anything if I tried. I was quite indifferent as to how my blunders in class would affect the student and consequently bring the disfavor of both the principal and the dean upon me. As I said before, I am timid at heart, but I am not a man who will look back with his hands on the plow. In case this school did not want me, I was any moment ready to go elsewhere, and was not a bit afraid of the badger or red shirt. And of course I had no mind to say some sweet words or complimentary remarks to the boys in the classroom. Thus it was all right with the school, but it would not do with the home where I boarded. I could have borne very well with the landlord who came and helped himself to the tea from my own can, but he was not content with that. He would bring me various things and try to make a customer of me. Some dozen of ornamental seals were first brought to him, who asked me to buy from them for 3 yen and said that it was a bargain. I told him that I, not being a poor artist going around the country places, I did not need them. Next time he came in with a hanging scroll of flowers and birds painted by a certain artist named Kwazan, hanging it himself on the tokonoma, he admiringly said to me, "Is it not a perfect finish?" "Well, yes," was my equivocal answer. He went on lecturing. There were 2 painters who bore the same nom de plume, but different family names. But this work done by such and such Kwazan. After spinning a long yarn, he urged me to buy it, for he would charge me only 15 yen. I declined the offer on the ground that I had no money with me. Obstinacy seemed to be his characteristic trait. He said that I did not need to worry about it, and that I could pay it at any time suited me best. Frankness was now the only means to drive away this brazen host. I would not buy such stuff myself if I had the money. At last succeeded in driving him away. A stone ink slab suzuri, as big as a devil's towel, a big ornamental towel, was next brought in. He repeatedly said that it was a tanke. Wishing to have some fun at his expense, I asked him to explain to me. He said, "There are upper, middle, and lower layers of stone in the quarry called tanke in China, and the ink slabs now on sale in the market were all the upper layer, and this is surely of the middle one. Look at the eyes. An ink slab with 3 eyes is rarity. A rub or two with your ink stick, Sumi, on the slab will convince you the truth of my statement. Just try." Thus saying, he pushed the great suzuri towards me. "What is the price?" I asked. He told me that the owner, having brought it back from China, wished to dispose of it, that a 30 yen would be quite reasonable price. This fellow must be a fool, I thought. It seemed that I might be able to get along pretty well with the school, but his bric-a-brac attack would drive me mad before very long. In the meantime, the school had begun to interest me but little. One evening I was taking a walk along the street named Omachi when near the post office sign, lantern with characters soba, Tokyo style, underneath it, in the way of a footnote, attracted my attention. I am very fond of buckwheat. While in Tokyo, I could hardly resist the temptation to go into a shop through the curtain when I happened to pass by and smell the high flavor of seasonings from a buckwheat shop. My mind had been absorbed till now in mathematics and curios, buckwheat having been placed in the background. Now that I saw a familiar signboard inviting me to come in, I could not but follow the call of my palate. I went in thinking I would treat myself with a bowl or two. The interior of the shop was anything but clean. The signboard did not tell the truth. I wish it had been much cleaner, judging from the conspicuous characters Tokyo on the paper lantern, but either from the ignorance of Tokyo or the want of money on the part of the keeper, the room was extremely dirty. The mats were all discolored with grains of sand. The walls were all black with soot. The ceiling, smoldering with the smoke from the petroleum lamp, was so very low that you would unconsciously duck. The only thing that was quite new and pasted in a conspicuous place was the bill of fare and prices written in pompous characters. In all probability, the business was purchased and opened by a new proprietor a few days ago. The first item on the bill was buckwheat with fried fish. "Give me tempura," called out in a rather loud voice, caused those who, in the corner of the room, had been helping themselves to soba, eating with a hissing sound, to turn their eyes to me all at once. As the room was dark, I had not noticed it, but one glance showed that they were all students of my middle school. I returned them a salutation as they had done me the same. I had not taken soba for so long, and since it was good, I did ample justice to 4 bowls of soba with tempura that evening. Next morning, I went to the classroom without concern and found Professor Tempura written in such a letter on the blackboard that they all but covered it. No sooner had the boys been seen my face than they burst into uproarious laughter, as it all seemed nonsense. I demanded that it was not right for one to eat tempura. The one of the boys replied that it was all right to eat tempura, yet 4 bowls was too much. I told them that it was not their business at all whether I took 4 or 5 bowls with my own money, and giving a lecture in a hurry, beat a hasty retreat to the teacher's room. After 10 minutes recess, I went to another class whose blackboard was found to be decorated with the following characters: 4 bowls of tempura, but you must not laugh. I was not a bit angry last time, but this time I thought it impertinence itself. Joke, when indulged into excess, is no longer a joke, but mischief. It is something like baked mochi done too much, which nobody will take the trouble to eat. It may be that country people, not knowing how far to go and where to stop, think that it's alright to push it as far as they possibly can. Their castle town is so small an affair that an hour's sightseeing will bring you to an end of everything it contained, and as they had no other accomplishment to pride themselves upon, they treated the tempura business as if it was such great event as the Russo-Japanese War. Poor souls! As they were brought up from infancy in such a way, it goes without saying that they will grow up to be precocious and cook like a dwarf maple tree trained up in a flower pot. I would laugh with them if it were done in spirit of juvenile innocence, but what was it? Boys should be boys to the marrow, but the act was certainly of a matured man of poisonous spirit. Quietly rubbing out the characters on the blackboard, I demanded if such mischief had given them satisfaction. An ignoble joke? "Do you know the meaning of the word ignominy?" said I to the boys. Then came a voice saying, "Meanness is the anger shown by one whose act excites laughter." I thought that this agreeable fellow had the best of it. Be that as it may, when I reflected how I had come so far down from Tokyo to teach such savages, my heart began to fail. "Do not talk nonsense, but work hard," said I to the boys, and began teaching right away. The blackboard to the next classroom saluted me with the following: take tempura and your organ of speech will only get oily and make you talk insolently. I came to catch them, but they had already disappeared from the scene, my patience having been overtaxed. I told them that I would not teach such assuming rascals anymore, and left the classroom in an angry mood. I was called afterward that the boys were very much pleased, as they had no more work that hour, things having come to such a state. My landlord curios seemed to be far more bearable than the school with its detestable ingredients. However, a good night's sleep over the tempura affair arrested my irritability. In the morning, I went to school and found all the boys present. I could hardly make out what it all meant. Nothing worthy of note happened until fourth day, on the evening of which I visited and ate dumpling at a place named Sumida. This is a town noted for its hot spring, which can be reached from the castle town in 10 minutes by rail and 30 minutes on foot. The hot spring resort has houses of ill-famed besides restaurants, hotels, and a park. The dumpling shop at the entrance to the brothel quarters being famous for sweetness of the bread. I just stepped in on my way home and tasted some. This time, meeting no students, I thought nobody had seen me going there. Going to the school next morning, I went into the classroom and was saluted by the letters 2 plates of dumplings, 7 sen on the blackboard. It is true I had taken 2 plates and paid 7 sen. What a nuisance! Fully expecting the second period would bring me again some kind of fresh annoyance, I went to the classroom and found on the board, dumplings in the brothel quarters are very nice. I was completely dumbfounded by this act of obstinacy and impertinence. The dumpling affair thus passed away to return no more, but is soon followed by another. It was nothing but an innocent red towel which excited their curiosity. How did it happen? I had made it a regular habit of going to the hot spring at Sumida every day. Every other thing made a very poor comparison with things in Tokyo, but as to the hot spring, it was just splendid. As I had taken so much trouble to come so far down, I thought I would go and have a bath there every day. So I would walk down there in the way of exercise every evening before supper. Whenever I went, I took a large foreign towel, and the ends of which were dangling down from my girdle. The mineral water had given it a yellowish tint, and together with the color of running out of red stripe on it, it turned rouge. It was my constant companion going and coming. It was with me in the railway carriage. It was with me when I took a walk. Thus, the boys came to call me Red Towel. How annoying it is to have lived in a small town and be an object of criticism. I have more to tell. A new 3-storied house was the bathhouse where I used to go. If you went first class, you could get a bathrobe and wash by the servant as well. Moreover, a pretty maid would serve you a tea in a teacup called temmoku. I always went first class. Then, they began to say that it was very extravagant for a teacher whose salary was only 40 yen a month to go first class. They had better mind their own business, I should like to say. This is not at all. The bath tank was of granite. It was as large as a 15-mat room. Generally, 13 or 14 persons were found bathing in it, but sometimes there were none. The water came up to your breast, and it was very nice for one to go in and swim in the tank. But one day, as I went downstairs in high spirit from the 3rd floor, fully expecting it to have a swim again, that day I peeped through the narrow wicket into the bath tank and was greeted with a big placard nailed up with the bold black letters, "No swimming in the tank." As very few but myself would think of swimming in the tub, the placard must have been specially made to warn me. I took the warning and ceased to think of swimming in the tank again. Yes, I gave up the desire like a man. I was, however, not a little confused. Entering the classroom, I saw the blackboard kindly refrain from swimming in the tub. It seemed as if all the students were spies watching every move and act I made. Dejection came upon me. Let the boys do and say as they will, I am not a man who will give up on account of their interference of plans he has set his heart on. But my heart began to fail me when I thought that why I had come down to such a small, miserable town where the tip of your nose finds limitation wherever you move about, and home with its cure of persecution was no more consolation to me than the school itself. That was the end of chapter 3. You guys want me to continue chapter 4? I can do one more chapter if you guys want me to. Let me know. Let me know. I can do one more chapter. Alright. I'll read one more chapter. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 of Botchan by Natsume and Sōseki. I can do one more chapter, I think. Shouldn't be a problem. Night watch at school is a duty imposed upon each member of the faculty. They take turns in doing it. Principal Batcher, Dean Redshirt were exceptions to the rule. On asking why, I was told that they were freed from the duty because they were treated as officials of shonin rank. Beggarly pretext. They drew large salaries, their hours of teaching were few, yet they were exempted from the duty they should perform. What an example of injustice! An unjust law had been enacted for their own convenience. And they were so shameless as to show innocent faces before men. I wonder how they could be so brazen-faced. I was exceedingly indignant at this wrong committed with impunity. Mr. Porcupine was of opinion that whatever complaints one might make, it was of little avail. But it was my firm conviction that justice, even unaided, can carry its point. Mr. Porcupine, quoting the English proverb, "Might is right," gave me a warning, which was far more from being satisfactory. I asked him what it meant, and he said that it meant the right of the mighty. If that was all, I had known it long ago, and Mr. Porcupine's explanation could not make me a bit wiser. The right of the mighty and the night duty are quite different things, and no sensible man could acquiesce in the statement that Badger and Redshirt were the mighty. Setting argument aside, however, my turn of keeping night watch came around at last. Being naturally nervous, I couldn't have no sound sleep unless I rested in my bed with the bedding of my own. I had seldom stayed overnight at a friend's house since a child. If a friend's home failed to give me a night's rest, how could the cold bed of the dormitory satisfy me? I disliked the duty, yet if it were included in the salary of 40 yen, I thought it could not be helped, and I had better to attend it like a good boy. Teachers and boys had all gone home. I was left alone to brood over time's slow progress. The room in which I was to keep night watch was situated at the western extremity of the dormitory built in the back part of the classroom. I just entered and had a look at it. The setting sun was so mercilessly pouring its rays directly upon it that no human being could stay there for even a minute. Autumn in the country seems to take long in coming, and the Indian summer was intolerably hot. I had a ration of the boys' evening meal that brought in and made a hurried supper on it. So distasteful was it that I could not eat half as much as I wished. I wondered how the boys who took such poor food could be so full of life and mischief when you are told that they took it as early as 4:30 in the afternoon and dispatched it in no time. You would naturally think they were heroes. Supper had I taken, but I could not well go to bed as the sun was not gone yet. A desire to go to the hot spring had become urgent. I do not know whether it is right or not to go out when one is on night duty, but to be confined like a prisoner in a bare, comfortless room taxed my patience far beyond endurance. When I first came to the school and asked the janitor if the teacher on night watch was in, he said that he was out on business. At the same time, I thought it was strange. Now that my turn came around, I could not but sympathize with the teacher. He was right in going out. The ennui would have killed him. On my telling the servant that I should have been gone for a while, he asked if I had some business out. No, I said, but I'm going to the hot spring to have a bath. Thus saying, I went on my way. It was pity that I had left my red towel behind the house where I boarded, and one borrowed over would do for once. At last, evening came, and I had gone in and out of the bath tanks several times. Taking the train, I got down at Furumachi Station, only 4 cho from here to the school. Thinking it could be covered in a few minutes, I had gone on several steps when Badger came in sight. I dare say he had planned to take the train to the hot spring too. Briskly coming towards me, he gave me a side glance as he passed. I made him a slight bow in recognition. "Well," said he in a serious tone, "you are on night duty this evening, aren't you?" His "aren't you" irritated me not a little. Was it not 2 hours ago that he thanked me, saying, "You are on duty tonight? You never have been on before. I thank you for the trouble." It never occurred to me that as soon as one becomes principal, one should have to use such a roundabout expression. Being much offended, I told him bluntly that I knew that I was on duty that night and was on my way to school to perform my assigned duty. Thus saying, I strutted away from him in a slow, unconcerned way. Hardly had I reached to the turning Tate Street when Mr. Porcupine was in front of me. "What a small place it is! You go out and you are quite sure to meet somebody of your acquaintance." "Are you not on night watch?" said he to me. "Yes, I am," I answered. "If so, it is wrong for you to be out." "Nothing wrong," I replied. "It is wrong not to be out." This boastful answer drew another remark from him. "Away with your independence! Don't you know you have had the time if you Don't you know you will have a hard time of it if you meet the principal or the dean?" This admonition was something unusual from Mr. Porcupine. "Well," I said, "I just met the principal just now, and he thanked me, saying that it was very hard to be on night watch on such a sultry night, and that I had best to be out for a walk." With this, I briskly walked away from him and toward the school, wishing to have no more trouble with him. Evening soon came with its black veil. The janitor had been called into the room where I was to keep night watch, and we gossiped away about 2 hours after dark. The talk about having lost its novelty. I thought I would go to bed, though sleep might be slow in coming. I undressed, put on the nightgown, rolled up the mosquito net, lifted up the red blanket, and dropping myself Dropping on my buttocks on the bed with a slight thud, I laid myself down on my back. The action had last mentioned has been my habit ever since I was a child. Once I remember that while I was staying in a boarding house in Ongawa Machi, a student of a certain law school, an occupant of an upstairs room, came and complained to me that it was a very bad habit. A law student is very clever at speech, though cowardly at heart, and this one began to spin a long yarn. I let him have his way and composed to tell him to told him to his discomfiture that it was not the fault of my rump, but the fault lay in the poor structure of the boarding house, which made such a disagreeable sound whenever one got about, and that he had better go and make complaints to the landlord himself. I had no such fear in this chamber in laying myself down with a thud, as the room was downstairs. I lay down as energetically as I could, for I do not feel quite rested unless I do so. Scarcely had I stretched my legs with a pleasurable feeling than something crawled on my leg. I was sure that it was not a flea, as it was rather rough when I felt it. What was it then? Extreme alarm made me shake the leg in the blanket. The shaking drove out so many more disagreeable things, rough to the touch. 5 or 6 more came into my shin, 2 or 3 on my thigh, and one was smashed right under my rump. Another was bold enough to come so far up as the navel. Helter-skelter! Getting up in the lightning speed, I took out and threw the blanket to the bottom of the bed. This maneuver drew out some 50 or 60 grasshoppers from the bed cover. It is true that I had feared more or less before the true character of these things came to light, but now the grasshoppers were found to have been the cause of my alarm. I could not but be offended. Thus saying, I took out the pillow with case and all and flung it at those poor insects 2 or 3 times. These acts did not bring forth the expected results, as the targets of my blows were too small. Finding no better way, I sat down on the bed and began rolling up the mat, as it is done at the time of suit cleaning. I began to beat the tatami aimlessly and recklessly. The grasshoppers were greatly terrified, but being caught up in the air by incessant motion of the pillow, they flew about in every direction. Some of them boldly came and took hold of my shoulders and my head and the tip of my nose. Others were arrogant enough to strike against me in passing. Those that had perched on my head were spared by the blow of the pillow, as it would hardly do more for me to drive away with it. Seizing them with my hand, I flung them away with all my might, but what taxed my patience was that however hard I might throw them away, it brought no apparent effect, as the insects would gently get hold of the net, only giving it a slight curve. The grasshoppers, far from dying, looked as innocent and calm on the net as if a severe windstorm had just passed over. The engagement lasted for about 30 minutes before all those poor insects were put to death. I got the broom and swept up the carcasses all out of the room. The janitor appeared and asked me what the matter was. Away with your what's the matter? No sensible person would think of keeping grasshoppers in his bed, you blockhead. At these bitter words of anger, the school servant apologized to me, saying that he knew nothing about it. Much offended at his poor excuse, I hurled the broom at the janitor at the veranda, who, in great astonishment, picked it up and carried it away on his shoulder. I lost no time in calling in some 3 of the boarding students to represent the whole dormitory. Then, half a dozen made their appearance. I did not care a pin whether a dozen or half a dozen came. Rolling up the sleeve of my nightgown to show my determination, I began interrogation. How dare you put grasshoppers in my bed? Said I. What is a grasshopper? Asked one of those sat in front. He was so self-possessed that it approached impertinence. It seemed to me that not only the principal but also the boys in this school, who are crooked and sophistical in their speech, You do not know a grasshopper? You shall see. You shall see it now. But happening to have no grasshoppers on hand, as I had swept them all away, I called in the janitor again and told him to bring the insects that he had put away. He said that they had already been cast away into the dirt hole, and asked me if he was to bring to me again. I told him that he should, and should do it at once. He ran out of the room and pretty soon bring back some dozens of grasshoppers on a sheet paper. He apologizingly said, "I'm so sorry, but because of the darkness of the night, these are all that I could gather. You shall have more tomorrow, sir." The lack of sense seemed here to pervade all down to the janitor himself. I picked up one of the insects, showing it to the boys, and said, "This is a grasshopper. You should be ashamed of your big bodies if you do not know the grasshopper." At this, a fellow with a round face who sat at the extreme left said, "Why, it's a locust, don't you see?" And he looked so wise over the victory. "You fool," retorted I. "A locust and a grasshopper are the same, only in different name. Moreover, don't you see? It's an extremely impolite expression to your teacher." What is your namoshi? Where is your namoshi? Namoshi is eaten only when you take dengaku. At this rebuff, he said that namoshi and nameshi are not the same. This fellow would not give up his dreadful namoshi to the last. "Locusts or grasshoppers, you can take your choice, but how dare you put them in my bed? When did I ask you to put them on?" "Why, nobody did." "How could I find them in my bed if you had not put them in?" "Well, locusts are fond of warm place, and naturally they found their way into your bed." "Away with your nonsense! How could you say grasshoppers crept in by themselves? There can be no bearing with grasshoppers in one's bed. Why did you play such a bad trick? Confess quickly." "Well, we never did. How can we confess that which we have never done?" "Cowards! If you cannot confess what you have actually done, you should never have done it. Be there no evidence against you, you think yourself quite safe, boldly putting on an innocent face. Even I, while in middle school, did play a few tricks, but when I asked who had done the tricks, I was never so base and mean to shrink back from the responsibility. What's done is done. What's not done is not done. I have been, it is true, the perpetrator of many naughty things, and have always been honest and frank. I would never play a trick if I were to escape punishment by telling a lie. Mischief and punishment are inseparable. The very existence of chastisement gives trick a reasoning as attractive and enticing as a siren. No country under the sun will tolerate a man so mean and base as to try to escape the consequences of the crimes he has perpetrated. Money he could borrow, but never think of repaying. Such a rascal will naturally come out of a school like this. What kind of schooling in the world are they receiving in this middle school? They come to school, tell lies, deceive others, play many tricks as stealthily as mice, and when they are graduated, they strut about the world like peacocks. Were true education as such, it would not be blessing, but rather a curse, you wretched bums." I thought it was simply waste of time to talk to such worthless, rotten-spirited fellows. "Well, if you cannot or will not confess what you have actually done, you need not to do so. You may go." Thus, I dismissed the boys. I am refined neither in speech nor in manner, but I thought I had a good heart, a heart much nobler than those of those cowardly lads. The 6 boys left me and went their way placidly and composedly, as they thought they were much superior to their teacher. However, their self-possessed manner itself betrayed their evil disposition. I could never. Hey! Hi, Isabel. I could I'd never put on such bonus even if I tried. Hardly had I got into the bed and laid myself down again when I found the net was full of buzzing mosquitoes. They had probably found their way into the net during the disturbance. However, it would never do to burn the mosquito insects one by one with the lighted candle. So I went down the net, folded it several long folds, and began to shake it crosswise in the chamber. When one of the cord wings came flying and hit me on the back of my hand with such a force that a faint shriek of pain escaped from my throat. The third time I got into the bed, I found myself a little calmer, but sleep I could not. 10:30 was the hour on the clock. Reflection was not a happy one. Why had I come to such a wretched place at all? If a middle school teacher should have to deal with such fellows, he must indeed be a pitiable one. I wondered why the supply of middle school teachers did not come short. Nobody but an honest fellow of exceeding patience would take up the vocation as life work. Having no such great patience, I thought the profession would never do for me. The chain of thought brought me around to the case of Kiyo, who seemed so noble. It is true that the old woman had neither education nor social rank, but none the less the possessor of such a noble character. My heart had never turned to her in gratitude before, though I had received so much kindness from her. But now that I was alone at a place so far from where she was living, my heart began to melt in grateful remembrance towards the kind woman. She said that she would like to eat the sasame of Echigo. The trouble of going so far as Echigo to get the cake for her would be an amply repaid. For she really deserved it. My Kiyo would commend me, saying that I had an unselfish, honest, frank character, but I am not worthy of such high praise. She deserves it instead. She's so noble and loving. Oh, and that all I could see her now. My heart and mind had all been occupied with the thoughts of Kiyo, when all at once, bang, 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 just above my head came the sound of drumming feet on the floor made by some 30 or 40 boys in number. I feared that the floor might come down upon my head. The drumming was followed by a war cry proportionately loud. Thinking something serious had happened, I sprang out of bed, but only then, it struck me that the boys had done it out of vengeance. No crime could be cancelled before a man apologized, confessing what he had done was wrong. His conscience would tell him he had done wrong. A right-minded man would go to bed and repent there from the bottom of his heart and come to ask for forgiveness. Even if he did not come and ask pardon, at least he should, out of repentance, go to bed and be sleeping quietly. These fellows seems to think that the dormitory a pen in which they can go get about just as much as pigs. Do away with your madness, pranks. You shall smart for it. Thus saying to myself, I got out from the room in my nightgown and ran upstairs, clearing the stairs in 3.5 strides. But, strange to say, the noise caused by the stamping on the floor had suddenly ceased, and no voice, or even footsteps, could be heard at all. How could I account for this sudden calm? Was it a calm before the storm? The lamps had already been put out. Nothing could be seen distinctly through the darkness, but something told me that very plainly that the mischief doers were hiding themselves somewhere. The long corridor running from east to west had no crevice in which even a little mouse could hide. The moon was sending her resplendent rays towards the extremity of the passageway and made it as bright as the broad daylight. I wonder if I was not in a labyrinth walking around and around. I had been a great dreamer ever since a kid. I remember that I sometimes sprang out of bed and talked some incoherent words and was greatly laughed at. One evening, when I was some 17 years old, I had a dream in which I picked up a diamond. I started up and reproachfully demanded of my elder brother who slept beside me what he had done with the precious stone I had just picked up. Crestfallen was I for a couple of days, for I became a laughing-stock of the whole family. So perhaps I had been dreaming. Yet I was so sure of the trick the boys had played upon me a moment ago that I sat in the middle of the veranda and began to think what I should do next. When what should I hear but 1, 2, 3, hurrah! A shout of some 40 boys in a chorus marking time with the stamp of their feet on the floor. It was not a dream. Then, crying in such a voice as to beat their hearts, "Be quiet, young rascals! Don't you know it's the dead of night?" I began to run along the passage towards the spot whence the shout proceeded. Dark was the corridor along which I ran, and the moonlit spot of the extremity of the passage being the only guide, for which I made with all my might. I had not gone 6 or 7 yards when something hard lying in the middle of the veranda caught me by the leg. Bang! I fell, and a cry of pain escaping from my lips. With an oath I sprang on my feet, but run I could not, for my legs would not obey the command of the brain, however impatient it was. Irritability drove me to run on with one leg, but what was my disappointment when reaching the spot I heard neither the stamping of the feet nor the sound of human voice. Stillness reigned. However degenerate man might be, this seemed to me an extreme case utterly beyond my comprehension. They were no better than swine, being pigs. They would never come out and apologize to me of their own accord. But they should know I would not concede even one single step until I should succeed in driving them out of their hiding place and punishing them one by one. Thus, making up my mind, I tried to open one of the bed chambers, and in order to look inside, but the door would not open to my pulling or pushing. I tried ever so hard, yet it was either locked up or barred with desks or something. It was so tight as if it were locked by magic. Then I tried the north chamber just opposite, but all to no avail. I was so eagerly excited to open the door in order to catch the fellows inside that I was completely taken aback when I heard a war shout with stamping feet coming from the east end of the corridor. I knew at once that the boys were, by a previous arrangement, trying to attack me from both sides of the veranda, some from the east, others from the west, but I did not know what to do in such a fix. To confess frankly, I have a fair share of courage, but sadly lacked tact, and was completely at loss how to manage things as they presented themselves. However, it would never do for me to be beaten. My honor would be trodden down in the dust if I should let things go on as they stood. An inexcusable shame would it be for an Edo man to be called a coward. It would be an ineffaceable disgrace for me if I was teased by some dozen dirty-nosed urchins on night duty, and not knowing what to do with them, was so compelled to smooth matters down and let it go in silence. My ancestors were bodyguards to the shogun. They all belonged to a very ancient stock of the Minamoto, a direct line of the Emperor Seiwa. That is to say, I am a descendant of a proud knight Tada Mitsunaka. I am of noble birth, incomparably higher than those poor lowly peasant lads. The only drawback is that I lack tact. The only difficulty lies in the fact that I am at loss at what to do in such cases. But never would I be beaten, however hard-pressed I might be. It is all my fault for being honest. Yet if honesty could not be the final victor, what else could, I wonder? A moment's reflection will make it all plain. In case tonight will not bring me victory, tomorrow will. If that will not, the day after tomorrow surely will. In case that the day after tomorrow should fail to bring me victory, I will order my lunch from my boarding house and remain there until my perseverance has been crowned by a glorious triumph. Thus, making up my mind, I sat down in the middle of the long hall, and crossing my legs, I waited bravely till dawn. Mosquitoes came buzzing, but their bites could not disturb me a bit. Feeling the part of the shin hit by the hard block a few moments ago, my hand came upon something slippery. Probably it was bleeding. Let blood come out as much as you please. And in the meanwhile, sleep has been so busy working over my fatigued nature, and I fell fast asleep. Stir and commotion nearby awoke me from my slumber, and I jumped up with an oath. The door on the right of where I sat half opened, and I found before me two of the boys standing and staring at me. As soon as I recovered my senses and come to the consciousness, taking hold of the nearest boy by the leg, I pulled him with all my might. Down he fell, his back with a great thud. "Served you right," I exclaimed, scared by this act of mine. The other boy hesitated a moment before he took to his heels. I sprang after him like a wild beast and gave him 2 or 3 good shakes on the shoulder. The boy winked his eye in an utter bewilderment. On my commanding them to follow me to my room, they came after me meekly and submissively like sheep. The night has already dawned. Cross-examinations in my chamber, however, brought no satisfactory result. It failed to draw out any candid confessions from the boys. Pigs are pigs. These fellows, being no better than swine, seemed to make "we don't know" their first and last argument. In the meantime, the small room where the interrogation was going to become pretty full of visitors from the upstairs room, who had slipped in one after another. Every one of them had swollen, sleepy eyes. Miserable wretches! One sleepless night, and they look as good as thin as ghosts. Men should be made of sterner stuff. I told them to go, wash their faces, and come back to argue, yet nobody stirred. Nearly an hour had been spent in endless questions and answers when the principal badger made his sudden appearance. I learned afterward that the janitor had gone all the way to his house to report there was disturbance in the school. He should never have been so alarmed as to call the principal about such a trivial event. No better position than that of a middle school janitor could have been obtained by such an alarmist, thought I. The principal heard through all I had to say. He, too, gave an ear to what the boys said. Then he told them to attend school as usual until they are given further notice. He dismissed the boys one and all with the words, "Wash your faces and have your breakfast right away, lest you should be late for school. Quick, boys!" What an example of indecision! Had I been in his place, I would have turned out all the boarders right on the spot. Naturally, such lenient, lukewarm attitude of the principal would encourage the boys to slight teachers on night duty. Turning to me, the principal said that I must be very tired after so much anxiety, and that I should be excused for the day. "No," I said to him, "I had not the least anxiety. If such event took place every night, I should never be troubled. Teaching I will do. One sleepless night and I were unable to do my teaching, I would return my part of salary to the school." At this, the bewildered principal stared at me in the face for some time and then told me that my face was so swollen. Indeed, I felt it somewhat heavy and dull. Moreover, it was so scratchy all over. 100 mosquitoes must have bitten it. Scratching it with both hands, I told him that however swollen my face might be, it should never interfere with my teachings as long as my organ of speech was in good condition. "You're so full of energy," was his commendatory remark. I wonder, however, whether it was really a commendation. I dare say it was a bit of irony lanced at me. That was the end of chapter 4. You know what? It reminds me of the one time I stayed at school for like camp, and I had a backpack on. Since I was young, I'm basically the bait for mosquitoes. And thank you so much for Petra. I was basically a bait for all kinds of mosquitoes, and I went to school for this school camp thing. I borrowed a sleeping, what do you call it, this camping sleeping bag, sorry. Yeah, oh my god, I'm stupid. So I borrowed a sleeping bag from my friend, because she's not in the same club as I was. So I slept in the sleeping bag. So there was like a lot of mosquitoes at school, and I tried my best. I put on like mosquito repellent and everything, but it didn't work at all. The next morning, my face was so swollen, it looks as if that I had like an allergic reaction to something. It was terrible. Seriously, absolutely terrible. Like my face was so swollen, it really looked like I had an allergic reaction to something. And then my friend who woke up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom said that when she woke up, and she was so scared because she saw like basically hundreds of mosquitoes. Like there were so many people sleeping in the same classroom as I did, but all the mosquito was focused on my face because my entire body was like covered up. So they were all like taking a bite from my face. Basically, the mosquitoes, there was like basically, if you can imagine, it's like a swarm of mosquitoes just on my face feeding themselves. My friend tried her best to like get them away, but after that she went back to sleep. And yeah, my face was so swollen, it looks like I had a terrible allergic reaction. My mom was so scared when she picked me up. I was like 14 at the time, and then after that we went to like the doctor, and the doctor said that it's just all mosquito bites basically, but gave me some like anti-swelling medication after that. That was terrifying. Yeah, I understand what this teacher went through. I mean, not the getting bullied by kids stuff, but the getting bitten by mosquito bite. Alright, I think I shall end it here. How are you guys doing? How are you all doing this new year? I hope you guys had fun this new year. Hello. Did y'all go and party over the New Year's Eve? Any New Year resolution that you guys want to share with me? Maybe I can copy you all. And yeah, my little bunny as well. Oh, can't even press it. Thank you so much for coming, by the way, today. To exist? Oh, that's a good one, Nata! Coco, yes! That's a good one. That's a good one. Nata de Coco just said that my New Year resolution is to exist. That's a very good one, seriously. Just existing is so difficult. You know what? Yes, I agree with you. I shall keep that in mind. Nata de Coco. I shall make that into my New Year resolution too. My New Year resolution is to exist. My other New Year resolution is to, I don't know, like I try to make my New Year resolution a little bit more self-centered, like I don't know, take care of myself, like eat healthier and like exercise more. But like there's a big part of my New Year resolution is to like I don't know, make other people happy, make other people laugh, I don't know, be an enjoyable person to hang out with. I read so much. I think I can. Wow. guys, there's actually like 10 chapters. I think I can do one more chapter, to be honest. Then on Wednesday, I'll just finish it up, and then we can start a new book after that. Cause I think so far I'm alright. I'm not super tired yet. You guys up for one more chapter? Let me know. Oh, thank you. Yes, I will hydrate myself. I'm very happy that you guys are here today. Very happy. Because it's been a while to see so many people in the same place, to be honest. I'm very happy that you guys are here. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll read chapter 5, okay? Because I think that it's like I'm already almost halfway the book. If I separate it into a 3 session, it will be quite awkward. So I think I'm going to finish up chapter 5, and then the next time we read chapter 6 onwards, and then we can finish it up on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we'll read Kazuo Ishiguro's book, Kazuo Ishiguro's second novel, An Artist of the Floating World. So that one I don't know how long it is. It doesn't have chapters, so I have a feeling that it's going to be quite what? That one I think is going to be quite a difficult one, because that one it goes by dates. It's kind of weird. Let me see. Yeah, that one's gonna be weird. I might just finish the entire book on Friday, to be honest. I don't know, we'll see. It's okay. Isabel! Wait. Isabel. I remember someone called Isabel like a long time ago. Were you here when I was reading I Am a Cat by Sōseki? If you're the same Isabel, then I think you changed your race. Wait, why you are a... Oh, it's the same Vera? Really? Really? Oh my god, sorry then, I think I got mistaken with another Isabel. Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Static Caster. Static Caster, are you inside my reading room right now? Static Caster. I understand that. Okay. Okay. Anyways, let us finish up. Oh, well, who are you? Who is? Isabel. Okay, Isabel. I'll read it after. I'll read the tarot card after I finish chapter 5. Okay. All right. But I will remember your redemption. Okay. If I don't remember, remind me. Thank you. Okay. Let us continue. Finish up chapter 5 today, and then we can start off with chapter 6 the next time. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm very happy. So, chapter 5 of Natsume Sōseki, Botchan. Won't you go fishing with us? The Lala at the back. Ah! Illuminate. I see. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Although I have no candies for you, but thank you. I've been told that my candies for follow is a false advertisement. I wish I could give you guys candies in real life, you know what I mean? In a non creepy way. Alright, chapter 5. Won't you go fishing with us? Said Red Shirt to me one day. Red Shirt is the possessor of such a sweet tongue to give to a hearer uneasiness. No one can tell him from a female by the mere ring of his voice. If a man, he should have a manly voice. Is he not a graduate from the Imperial University? I, a mere graduate of the physics school, have a much bolder voice. It's a shame for a bunga kushi to have such an effeminate voice. Oh my god, this would not fare well in the current world if this is written now. No, it is written in 1900 something, I think. 1904. Well, I answered, as the invitation had a little attraction for me. Have you never been an angler? Was his next impolite question. Yes, but not often, I said. When I was a boy, I had the pleasure of catching trifuna, a fish of the carp family, in the fishing pond at Kome. Again, on the fifth day of Bishamon Kagurazaka, I managed to hook a carp about 8 inches long at the miniature pond, and was about to cry out with rapture that I had caught such a big fish, when it fell down into its own element with a splash. I still remember it with great regret. Upon this remark of mine, Red Shirt, sticking out his long chin, laughed with his usual ho ho. I thought there was no special need of laughing in such an affected tone. If that's the case, you do not know how much of an angler enjoys his sport, he said. I shall be only too glad to show you how to fish if you desire. He was in high spirits. Never would I have been shown how to fish by such a man. You may be quite sure that those who are fond of fishing or hunting are cruel, stony-hearted. A merciful man would never find pleasure in killing living things. A fish or a bird will find it much pleasanter to live than to be put to death. In the case of one who has to earn his daily bread by fishing or hunting, it is another matter. But one who lives in luxury and says that he can enjoy no sleep unless he kills some game is a perfect savage. This was the prevailing line of thought in my mind, yet he, being a bunga kushi, a cleverer in speech, and thinking I should make him a poor match in argument, I kept silent. Upon this, Red Shirt thought he had the best of it and urged me to go with him that day if I had time. As to how to fish, he would be very glad to show me. He continued that Mr. Yoshikawa's company, without mine, would be rather lonesome. His way of urging was so very persuasive. Mr. Yoshikawa was a teacher of drawing with the nickname Clown, if you remember. This man, for some reason, called on Red Shirt day and night and would follow him wherever Red Shirt went. Nobody would take him to be a colleague, but a servant. It was therefore no surprise to me when I heard that Clown was going with Red Shirt, for the former always kept company whenever the latter went out. One thing that puzzled me the most was why he had invited such a blunt, unsociable man as I to join them when they could go alone. I dare say the proud dean wanted to show me what a perfect angler he was by catching some big fish. Never should I be scared by such a shallow scheme. 2 or 3 tunnies caught by Red Shirt would not make me stare in speechless amazement. Humble as I am a man. Though a poor fisherman, I could catch something if I let my line. If I should not go now, the suspicious dean would think that I did not go because I was poor at handling fish, and not because I disliked the sport. Under the circumstances just mentioned, I could not but answer, yes, I'll go. After school, I went home, got ready, and went to the station and waited a good while before Red Shirt and Clown made their appearance. We three went down to the beach together. Only one boatman was to manage a long, narrow boat, the shape of which he was quite new to us born in Tokyo. I had been looking around the boat but had noticed no rod. Thinking nobody could fish without a rod, I asked the artist how it was. In fishing far out in the open sea, you need no rod but a line, he calmly answered, stroking his chin. He looked as if he were a professional angler. Silence would have me safe from disgrace. I was very sorry I had asked the question of Noda the clown. Slow was the rowing of the boatman, yet experience is a great thing, and on looking back, we found we were far out. The beach looked so very small in the distance. The top of the pagoda of the temple called Kohakuji was seen tapering into a pin from the midst of the woods. In front, we saw the green island floating on the surface of the sea. This is an inhabited island where only rocks and pines are found. Nobody can live in a place with nothing but rocks and pines. Red Shirt was looking at the beautiful scenery and admiring it. Noda, the clown, was saying that it was an unsurpassed view. I did not know whether it was a matchless scene or not, but certainly it gave me a pleasurable feeling. I thought it would do me good to breathe in the salt breeze on the broad, boundless sea. I felt very hungry. Look at the pine tree. Its trunk is so straight and it's spreading upward like an open umbrella. Turner would have drawn such a tree. Red Shirt was saying to Noda the clown, yes, it is a genuine Turner. What a perfect curve, a Turner itself, was the satisfied response of Noda. I did not know what they meant by Turner, but thinking the ignorance would give me no inconvenience, I kept silent. The boat turned around the isle on the right. No waves, no ripples. Nobody would think of it as a sea. It was so perfectly smooth through. The pleasure I enjoyed was due to the kindness of Red Shirt. Thinking it would be fine to get on the island, I inquired if the boat would not be steered for the place where a big rock stood. Well, it could, but it would never do for fishing to go too near the shore. Red Shirt objected, and I shut my mouth. Then Noda officiously proposed this. What do you think, my dear Dean, of calling the island Turner Isle hereafter? Well, it is a good idea. If in that I were included, I would object to it. Green Isle was good enough for me. What would you say, my dear Dean, if we place Madonna by Raphael on that rock? Don't you think it would make a fine picture? Noda said to Red Shirt, let us not dwell upon the subject any longer. He answered with his usual disagreeable ho ho ho. You need not worry about that. It is perfectly safe, for there is nobody here to interfere. With this, Noda turned around and gave me a glance, withdrawing his eyes at once. He smiled at his sleeves. This maneuver of theirs gave me an indefinably disagreeable feeling. I did not care a pin whether it was Madonna or Kodana. Younger master, they could place him or her anywhere they pleased. But saying things unintelligible to others and not caring whether others understand is mean. Huh? Thank you for the follow. Thank you so much for the follow. I will read you a poem after I read a tarot card for Isabel, okay? I'll remember that, don't worry. after I finish reading chapter 5. Okay. Okay. But saying things unintelligible to others and not caring whether others understand is mean, base, ignoble conduct on the part of anybody. The behavior of Noda the clown was exactly that, and still, he proudly called himself an Edelman. Madonna, I thought must be the secret name of the dancing girl with whom the dean was in love, or some such thing. Placing his favorite geisha under a pine tree on an inhabited island, Redshirt stared at her admiringly at a short distance in order to give the picture good effect. This would be quite ideal to him, and if Noda the artist represented the scene in an oil painting and exhibited it in an art gallery, it would be the climax of Redshirt's happiness. Saying the place was a good one, the boatman stopped rowing and cast anchor. How deep? Asked Redshirt. About 6 fathoms was the answer. Is it not deep enough to find a tie? With this, he cast his line into the water. He seemed to think that he could pull up such a big fish. Too ambitious, I should think. Certainly Madine's skill will entice a tie, and the sea is perfectly calm. Thus, dropping a complimentary remark, Noda the clown also let out his line, cast it to the bottom. It had nothing but a bit of lead at the end. It serves as the weight, but it had no float. If one could fish without a cork, one would be able to know one's fever without the help of a thermometer as well. Thinking it no use to try, I was just watching what they were doing when Redshirt said to me, "Well, won't you try? Have you no line?" "Yes, I have a line long enough, but no float," I answered. "A novice needs float. We need no float." Thus saying, he tried to show me how it was done. When the baited of the end of the line has reached the bottom, he continued, "You just put the part of the line you hold on the side of the boat and manage it with your forefinger. If there is a bite, you feel it right away." "Well, I have one," he said, and he began to haul in his line overhand. There was no fish and the bait was gone. It served him right, and my dear Dean, I'm very sorry for you. It must have been a big fish, said Noda the flatterer. If your skill could not secure it, nobody could today. Yet you are far superior, although you have missed the fish compared to him, whom stares at the cork all day long. He is like one who cannot ride on a bicycle without a brake. These ironically sarcastic remarks of Noda irritated me not a little, and I wanted more than once to deal him a good sound blows with my fist. I am a man as well as they, Richard. The Dean can never monopolize such a broad sea, though he may pretend to have rented it. At least a bonito or two would give me a bite for sheer love. Thus thinking, I dropped my line with the plummet and waited for a bite, letting go and hauling it in a little with my fingertips. In a few moments, something gave a big pull at the end of the line. This must be a fish. An inanimated thing can never give out such a strong pull. Good heavens, yes, I have it. Thus thinking, I began to haul in the line quickly. Well, you caught something? You are quite promising, came a sarcastic remark from Noda. In the meanwhile, the line had almost been hauled in. Only 5 feet or so remained in the water. Looking into the water from the side of the boat, I saw a striped fish like a goldfish in shape, was struggling right and left, and came up to the surface as I tugged the line. Splendid! I cried. As the fish came out of the water, it gave a great splash, and I had my face washed with salt water. I had no difficulty in boating it, but still harder was it to take it off the hook. My hand got disagreeably greasy. Vexation made me throw it with my might in the middle of the board of the middle board of the boat. It moved no longer. Red Shirt and Noda were amazed to see this act of mine. Vigorously washing my hand in the water, I brought them to my nose and found that they had a disagreeable smell. One trial was enough. I would never take hold of any fish I caught, however big it might be. Neither would the fish want to be seized by me. No time was lost in winding and putting away the line. The first battle won is meritorious exploit, but a goruki, remarked the assuming Noda again. Upon this, Red Shirt observed that the name of Goruki sounded like of the Russian man of letters. He meant Gorky. This was how he tried to play upon words. Yes, exactly, my dear Dean, agreed Noda, the clown. There is no doubt Gorky is a Russian literary man. Maruki is a photographer in Shiba, and the rice-bearing plant Ki is a sustainer of human life. A very bad habit had this Red Shirt, who always gave names of foreigners in square characters, katakana. Whenever he came across a man, everyone has his own specialty. A teacher of mathematics like myself can never tell a Gorky from a Sharishiki, a coolie. He ought to be a little more considerate. The autobiography of Benjamin Franklin or Pushing to the Front is not known ever to me. He had better mention these names. I often noticed that he brought to school a red-covered magazine called Teikoku Bungaku, Imperial Literature, and reverentially reading it. On asking, I was told by Porcupine that all the names of square characters given by Red Shirt came from the periodical. If so, Teikoku Bungaku is quite bad. It's quite a bad, misleading magazine, I should think. In the meantime, Red Shirt and Noda had eagerly been fishing. In an hour or so, they had caught about a dozen of fish. Funny to say, every one of them was a goruki. No Thai was polite enough to be caught by them. Russian literature seems to be pretty popular today, Red Shirt was saying to Noda. Well, if your skills fails to catch anything but goruki, no wonder I have caught nothing else. Noda was answering. The boatman told me that the small fish was full of bones and is not good to eat, that it is only good for fertilizer. Both the dean and the poor artist were, so to speak, fishing for fertilizer. I felt sorry for them. One of the fertilizer fish was quite big enough for me. Throwing myself on my back in the middle of the boat, I looked up at the beautiful sky. This, I thought, was far nicer and more elegant than catching goruki. Then the two of them began to talk in a whisper. I could not distinctly hear what they were saying, nor did I care. On my part, I was looking up into the blue firmament and thinking about Kiyo, my old nurse. Had I money and could bring her down to such a beautiful place, what a pleasure and delight it would give her. The matchless scenery would cry out against such a companion as Noda the flatterer. Kiyo is an old woman with a wrinkled face, but nobody would be ashamed of her wherever he took her. Such a mean fellow as Noda would be unbearable, either in carriage or on board or on top of the Ryongaku Tower Asakusa. Were I the dean and Red Shirt, I, Noda, would certainly say things to me and throw sarcasm at Red Shirt. People say that an Edo man is insincere, and I can hardly contradict this by saying that such a rascal as Noda goes about in the country places, making out repeatedly that he is a genuine Edo man. The people in the country would naturally come to the conclusion that insincerity is another name for an Edo man, and an Edo man is insincerity itself. My mind had been occupied with some such thoughts. When the two began to laugh in a suppressed manner, I listened, but could hardly make out what they were talking about, for interruptions occurred so often in their conversation. Well, I doubt it. It's perfectly true that he does not know. It is quite a pity. You don't say so. A grasshopper. It is true. A little attention I have been paying to other words, but when the words grasshopper slipped off Noda's lips, I at once came to attention. Strange to say, Noda put on a special emphasis on the word grasshopper and made it very distinctly plain to me, while all the other words lost their meaning. Again, that hota. Well, yes, it may be so. Tempura. Setting him up. Dumpling too. Frequent interruptions made it hardly possible for me to follow. Yet, judging from the words grasshopper, tempura, and dumpling, etc., I was quite sure that the subject of their confidential talk was myself. Conversation should be carried out in loud voices, and if they wanted to have a private talk, they should never have invited me to join. Damn! Be those fellows. Were they bata, grasshopper, or recetta, a kind of sandals? The fault did not lie in me. As principal requested me to permit him to take the whole matter into his hands, I simply acquiesced for the time being out of respect to his position, and Noda the clown should never have meddled with it. He had better sit still in the corner sucking his paintbrush, and sooner or later will attend to my own business and bring it to a satisfactory solution. But that was not the thing that gave me uneasiness. What troubled me lay in such words as that hota, instigation, etc. Did he mean that Hota had set me up and made the agitation bigger, or Hota had instigated the boys to persecute me? I was quite at a loss how to make it out. Looking up at the sky, I noticed that the sun was going down and a cool breeze had sprung up. A thin cloud, like smoke rising from an incense stick, was seen spreading over the transparent bottom of the firmament, and losing itself in the depth again appeared in the form of light fog. "Let us go home," said Red Shirt all at once, as if the thought had come to a revelation. "Yes, it is quite time to be going," answered Noda the flatterer. "Do you expect to see your Madonna tonight?" "Don't speak nonsense, Ben. For it may lead to some mistake," reproved Red Shirt as he raised himself a little from his reclining posture against the boat side. "Ha ha ha! It's perfectly safe," returned Noda. If he did hear, upon his turning toward me, I cast an angry glance from my big wide eyes open right upon the face of Noda, who, dazzled by the sudden shoot of light from my eyes, withdrew his gazing. "I cannot stand it." Shrugging his shoulders, he scratched his head. "What a snivelling, whining scoundrel!" The boat was slowly making for the shore. "You don't seem to like fishing," remarked Red Shirt. "Well, no. It's far better and nicer to lie and look up to the sky," I answered, and threw into the water the stump of cigarette I had been enjoying, which, with a hissing sound, floated off at the mercy of the waves along the wake, sound made by the strokes of oars. "Your coming to the school is welcomed by the students, and I hope you will please do your best." These words of the dean had nothing to do with fishing. They were an entirely out-of-place remark. "I'm not welcome to them, I know," I answered. "Yes, you are. It's not a mere compliment. They are really glad, are they not, Mr. Yoshikawa?" "Well, they are more than glad. They are greatly excited over your advent," Noda answered with an unironical smile. Strange to say, every word uttered by him called forth indignation in my mind. "Yet, you will not be safe if you do not take care," added Rachel. "Well, I am already aware of the danger and am quite ready to face it," I replied. The alternative was either to resign or to bring all the boarders down to their knees to apologize to me. "Don't express yourself so positively, or I shall be lost at what to do," pleaded the dean. "Indeed, the warnings I gave to you came from the disinterested goodwill I entertained toward you, and it would be pretty hard for me if you took it amiss." "Our dean is truly well-wisher of yours," Both coming from Edo, we should try to help each other. And though of little influence, I am privately doing my best in order to have you stay in the school as long as you possibly can. These were the only words of ordinary human kindness ever uttered by Noda the clown. I would sooner hang myself. I would I would sooner hang myself than to be under obligations to him. Yet the boys are very glad to have you come. However, the circumstances are so complicated that simple honesty alone can hardly penetrate. There may be arisen and may arise an event or two to arouse your anger, but believing that patience is a prescribed dose, please keep cool and quiet as I am doing, and I will do my best to promote your interest, you know. Hello, Kin Komodo! Hey! What's up? Happy New Year, Kin Komodo! Various complicated circumstances? What are they? They are too crooked and entangled. They will be clear and plain to you by and by. Time will be sure to disclose all without my explaining them. Now, won't it, Mr. Yoshikawa? Yes, they are very complicated, as the dean say. A day or two will not give any satisfactory solution, but the circumstances will gradually come to light, and I am sure that time will make our telling them entirely unnecessary. Noda repeated in the very words of Red Shirt. If they are so complicated and troublesome, I have better not to have an explanation. I would never have asked you to explain if you had not first introduced the subject. It is very true, answered Red Shirt. Mere introduction of the subject will not do unless the important point to be disclosed. I will then tell you this much. It may be impolite, but you are just fresh from college, and you have no experience as a teacher. Contrary to your expectation, school is, so to speak, a storehouse of complicated circumstances, and where's one straightforwardness will hardly do. If simple honesty will not do, what will, I wonder? Okay, I'll see you next time. Moving? You're moving houses? Well, that you are so unsophisticated shows your want of experience. It goes without saying that I lack experience. It's very plainly and distinctly written out in the record of my personal history, but I am but 23 years old and 4 months. That is the very point, where an unexpected danger will present itself from an unexpected quarters. I hope you have a easy and nice move on this new year. Enjoy your new place. Thank you for dropping by though, King Komodo. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. As long as I am honest, I shall be afraid of nobody who may take advantage of me. Well, of course, you need fear nobody, but you will be imposed upon. It actually happened that your predecessor had a bitter experience. That is why I warn you so earnestly. Wondering why the talkative Noda kept so still and quiet, I looked back and saw him eagerly engaged in a conversation on fishing with the boatman at the back part of the boat. We two talked far better by ourselves. Why do you say took advantage of my predecessor? I resumed. It would hardly be fair for me to give the name of the man, or his honor would be entirely ruined. And having no definite evidence from him, I shall be blamed if I do. Anyway, now that you are here, I hope that you will succeed, and we should be very much disappointed if you did otherwise. Please be more careful, said Red Shirt. It is easily said but hard to act upon, I answered. It would be all right provided I did no wrong, would it not? He laughed at this remark of mine, and with his usual ho, I was quite sure that I had said nothing laughable. I was firmly convinced till now that this principle of simple honesty would hold good for all time. The majority of people seem to encourage each other to grow bad. They seem to believe that the success in the world will come only to those who are bad or have become bad. When they meet with a rare specimen of pure simplicity, they contemptuously criticize and call him a boy master or a greenhorn. How is it then that a teacher of ethics, both in primary school and an academy, teaches his boys to be honest and never tell a lie? He had better not, but rather teach them how boldly how to tell a lie and how to impose upon a man or how to suspect others. This would be far better and more profitable both to the world at large and to the person who learns it. Red shirts, ho ho, certainly meant that my frankness was not to his taste. There would be no help for me but to laugh at, if simplicity and frankness could not get along in the world. My Kiyo never laughed at such time, but so sympathetically did he listen to me that Red Shirt looked far inferior to her in my estimation. To be doing right is of course good, as you say, but that alone would never save you from the snares of people set for you, if you fail to know how bad they are. You must know there are persons who look very cheerful and open-hearted, who will so kindly see to your board and lodgings, yet you will have to be watchful. Autumn seems to be setting in with its coldness. A fog of sepia has spread itself over the beach. A wonderful view. What do you say, my dear Mr. Yoshikawa? Don't you think it's just admirable? Behold, that view over the shore. Thus Red Shirt addressed Noda, the clown, in a loud voice. Yes, it is just wonderful. I would put it into my folio if I had time. I'm very sorry to leave it behind. Thus agreeing with Red Shirt, he gave a big beat upon his professional stomach. A Japanese clown's musical instrument is a drum. A light was seen upstairs in Minatoya, the hotel. A whistle from a locomotive was heard through the air of the evening when the boat we were in, reaching the shore, thrust its bow into the beach. The landlady of the hotel, standing on the beach, gave the dean a polite salutation with words, "Good evening, sir. Welcome home." As for me, I jumped down with a yell from the boat upon the sand. And that is the end of chapter 5, and we are done! We are done with chapter 5. So now I'm going to get my tarot deck. Thank you. Now we will continue chapter 6 on Wednesday, and then we'll start new book, Kazuo Ishiguro's book, on Friday. Let me go get my tarot deck first, and then after that I'll read a poem for Swiss roll. Okay. Isabel, can you tell me, do you want card of the day or you have a question? Tell me how many times I should shuffle, and then should I pick the card from the top of the deck or through a spread? Please let me know. And Kin Komodo, yes, I agree with what you said. I'm also a very lazy person who likes to do things last minute. Haha. Please let me know how many times I have to shuffle. Do you have a card of the day? 3 times shuffle top card. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, it's a first. Oh, I didn't know it's your first time in chat. Okay, 3 shuffles. Wow. Okay, one, 2, 3, and then top card. Your card of the day is... Whoa! You have a good card. 3 of Cups. You're gonna spend some time with good friends today, I think. 3 of Cups is a very, very good card. It's like 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups. Okay, 3 of Cups. Keywords for 3 of Cups. Celebration, fulfillment, friendship, community, happiness, and fun. You're gonna have a lot of fun today. So, the 3 of Cups says that you are enjoying good time with people you care about and admire. You could think of this as a cheers card. Yay! It can also indicate expressing love, inspiration, creativity with a community of like-minded people. The bond between you fills your cup and brings blessing to all. It's a very, very good card. I like this card. 3 of Cups is like one of my favorite cards. It's very happy card. If reading about money, the card says that you can profit from collective undertaking. It shows that you are reaping rewards from an investment made with other people. If reading about your work, the card reassures you good fortune from a group effort. Remember, good fortune, group effort. You feel joyful and fulfilled with the results. It's time to celebrate your success. In reading about love, this card can represent a marriage. It shows that you're celebrating your love and extending affection beyond your primary partnership to include friends, community, and kindred spirit. So today, you will have a good day spending time with your friends and just be happy, basically. It's a good card. Great card. So just have fun. Today is just a day to have fun. Go and have some fun and be happy. And go and have some fun. Coco. Poem. Swiss roll. Can you tell me? I'm gonna pick from a book. Not this one. Swiss roll. You can pick any pages. Wait, oh my god. I have a compilation book from Emily Dickinson. You can start from, you can choose from 1 to 575. 1 to 575. Sora. Sorayuki. Sora. Can you choose number 1 to 150 at 175? You can choose from number 1 to 175. 175. 1 to 175. You can choose any poem from 1 to 175. Also, yes, thank you so much for being here, you guys. I really, really appreciate it. 88. Okay. 88. Oh, it's a short one. Okay. It is by Emily Dickinson. I would say one of my favorite poets.
probably my favorite poet. I learned a lot about poetry from her. Dickinson. Number. Okay, number 88. Supposedly it is written in 1861. Emily Dickinson's poems don't really have titles, so yeah. It's written in circa 1861 and published in 1935. Number 88. Emily Dickinson. If your nerve deny you, go above your nerve. He can lean against the grave if he fear to swerve. That's a steady posture. Never any bend held of those brass arms, best giant made. If your soul seesaw, lift the flesh door. The poltroon wants oxygen, nothing more. Yes, Happy New Year, Terrorist Petra. Thank you so much for dropping by. And I read once more for you, Sora Yuki Shogun. Poem number 88 by Emily Dickinson, written circa 1861, published 1935. If your nerve deny you, go above your nerve. He can lean against the grave if he fear to swerve. That's a steady posture. Never any bend held of those brass arms, best giant made. If your soul seesaw, lift the flesh door. The poltroon wants oxygen, nothing more. Yeah, it's very short and sweet, and not entirely too depressing, because Emily Dickinson is known for like super depressing poems. That's a good one. Thank you so much for redeeming a poem, and also thank you so much to Isabel for redeeming a tarot card read. You will have a great day ahead. Thank you so much for everyone for dropping by today. I didn't expect so many of you here. I'm so used to reading to no audience, and I am eternally grateful to everyone here today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been really fun. I didn't expect to read so long too. I thought I would read like three chapters, but it seems like it's doable to read 5 chapters at once. And also, if you guys are wondering why my avatar has blonde hair, I actually bleach my hair in real life too. I have blonde hair now. How many followers do I have now? Is it? No, I haven't hit 140, right? Okay, never mind. I can still keep that follower alerts. Thank you so much, you guys. Seriously. Next reading will be on coming Wednesday, 11 a.m. GMT +8 as usual. I hope you guys can make it. I will be putting it up on Party Finder as usual. I will be tweeting it. Follow me on Twitter if you have not already. Hang on. Where's my Twitter? Follow me on Twitter. And you can also follow me. Not follow me. Join my Discord. But my Discord is like super dead. But I do. Oh, Sora just joined my Discord. Thank you so much. I do announce whenever I go live, so it will be like the best place to be would be Twitter and Discord when I go live. I not only do reading session. Reading session is like one of definitely my main thing. But I also do, like the last couple of days I was streaming MSQ. I'm planning to do that as well for the upcoming MSQ patch release. I plan to play some other games as well and stream it, so feel free to join in the stream whenever I go live. I will announce it on Twitter and also my Discord. I didn't really like announce on Discord because I don't really like to like bother people too much, you know, with the add everyone. But my partners at Pox said that it would be best if I just add everyone and tell people to come and join me. But yeah, thank you so much for. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading session today. I hope you guys like the poem reading. I hope to see you all again on this coming Wednesday. And for now, I need to go and have my lunch. It's a bit late for lunch, but it's okay. I'll go have my lunch and let me know, give me feedbacks on my readings, on my schedules, like what time do you think works best for you all. I can always adjust. I don't really have to be for Botchan! I haven't seen you. Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Happy New Year, everyone. Oh yeah. Okay. My God. Yeah. Oh my God. You guys. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but I haven't seen you in a long time either, Nata. And yeah, happy New Year, everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful year ahead. All your wishes come true. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, your health, your mental health, especially your mental health. Take care of yourself. And I shall see you all on Wednesday. Thank you once again for being here. I love y'all. Thank you, every one of you, every one of you in game and in my chat and everything. Have a great day. Happy New Year, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye bye. Oh wait, I need to send you all off with my favorite song in the world.
Have you ever had a dream that you can know you want to know
Hell yeah. Go have a dream. Bye bye. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.